Welcome, Wapham crew. Secure your tinfoil hats, buckle down tight, and hold on loosely as we soar over the La Paz on a Rocky Mountain high. Get sucked into the vortex of the Four Corners and settle down snugly at mile marker 420 in colorful Colorado. It is Sunday, December 18th, Monday, December 19th. For those of you across the pond and beyond, welcome to We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you. I hope you guys had an awesome weekend so far. We just started our holiday vacation on Friday. The kids don't even go back to school until January 4th. They're going to have a very long and drawn-out holiday. Hopefully they'll get some more snow, build some snowmen, etc. Okay, so if you're joining us live right now, you're listening to us on Spreaker.com under We Are Paradox Media. You can also find us live on KPNL Radio, which you can find at kpnl-db.com. Make sure you follow us on your free time, whether you're at work, working out, or just working it, at Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iTunes, iHeartRadio, CastBox, Tumblr, SoundCloud, TuneIn Radio, Deezer, Podcast Addict, and Podcast Chaser. Facebook and Twitter, we got a lot of fun stuff going on over there. Oh my goodness. For some reason, nobody can hear me. Uh-oh. Let me see what is going on with this. Wow, really? We're gonna do this tonight, are we? Hello? Hello, hello? Yes, ma'am, you can. Have Nova text me when you get there, okay? Hello, hello? Why is this not working? Hello, hello?
Something felt wrong, and I still have the feelings.
Hey, Steve, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Hello? Hello? Hold on one second. Okay, can you hear me now? Hear me, Stephen? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Welcome, Wapham crew. Secure your tinfoil hats, buckle down tight, and hold on loosely as we soar over the rocky tops of the La Paz on a Rocky Mountain high. Get sucked into the vortex of the Four Corners and settle down snugly at mile marker 420 in colorful Colorado. It is Sunday, December 18th, Monday, December 19th. For those of you across the pond and beyond, welcome to We Are Paradoxia's Late Night in the Rockies. Give me 1 second. Steve is... Hello, can you hear me now? You're doing good. All right. I'm going to finish this intro and then your bio. For some reason, my mic wasn't working. Maybe that's why I was breaking up for you. But luckily, Champ was telling me that he couldn't hear me, so I was able to fix it real quick. Holy schnickies. Right. Enterprise will pick you up. That's what I coined. So it's December 18th, Monday, December 19th. For those of you across the pond and beyond, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you. And thank you so much for joining us on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. I hope you guys have had an awesome weekend so far. The kids just got on to Christmas vacation here on Friday, and they won't be going back to school until January 4th. I hope everything runs smoothly and nobody loses their heads. If you're listening live right now, you're listening to us on KPNL Radio, which you can find at kpnl-db.com. You can also find us on Spreaker.com under We Are Paradox Media. Make sure you follow us on your free time, whether you're working out, or working in. You can also find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iTunes, iHeartRadio, CastBox, Tumblr, SoundCloud, TuneIn Radio, Deezer, Podcast Addict, and Podcast Chaser. Make sure you go over to our Twitter and Facebook. There's a lot of fun stuff going on over there for Christmas. I have a pretty demented sense of humor, and people tend to enjoy it, I suppose. Follow us on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe and give that bell a little tickle. That way next time we have an episode coming out, just like the one this evening, you will be notified. Hold on. So tonight we have Mr. Steve Ubaney on. Steve Ubaney is the holder of 4 college degrees and has been inducted into multiple national and international honor societies. He is a Who Murdered Elvis book conversant graduate of the University of Buffalo with a bachelor's in communication and media theory. Writing as a novelist, Mr. Ubaney published numerous op-eds in multiple newspapers. He also authored articles that were published in magazines and trade publications. In 2013, he merged his love of history with his quest for the truth, and he became the architect of the Who Murdered book series. Since the inception of the series, numerous volumes have been published as it works toward the completion of the 6-volume set, which is scheduled for completion in 2022. His research on numerous subjects has made him a frequent guest on television, radio, and podcast programs worldwide, as his knowledge into his subject matter is quite in-depth. Since the publication of the first volume in the series, Who Murdered Elvis, his work has generated a cult following, and it is not uncommon for physical copies of his book to sell for hundreds of dollars on the open market. Mr. Ubaney's family history is a fascinating one. The unsubstantiated work of one ancestral researcher claims that his family can be traced back to the cousin of the Virgin Mother and 2 members of the Knights Templar. The work is in process to validate that claim. What has been substantiated is that he is a direct descendant of Charlemagne and his 10th grandfather, William Chase, who came to America on the Winthrop fleet in 1630. William Chase's son, Benjamin, married Philippa Sherman, daughter of the Honorable Philip Sherman, who was the first Secretary of Rhode Island. Mr. Ubaney is the 10th great-grandchild of Philip Sherman. Welcome, Steve, and thanks so much for coming on tonight and bearing with my crazy tech issues.
That's okay. I had some tech issues of my own going on over here, so we're a match made in heaven, and I'm sorry about the long, boring bio. I'm related to everybody through cousins, or I was just astonished. And since that bio, I realized that I am now inducted into the Mayflower Society. I connected with it, came over on the Mayflower as well as the Winthrop fleet. So do your genealogy. You never know who you're related to. It'll give you a kick, It's really something.
It is pretty interesting, and it's funny. I don't know. I really didn't want to get onto Facebook, but due to a drop I had about 10 years ago, they're like, you really need to get on Facebook so you can promote us. And I found so many people that I lost in the past, and my husband actually had a sister that he never even knew existed until she did a genealogy and traced it back to his dad, and their genealogy, because he did end up doing a test, they're closer as far as siblings than him and his blood-related brothers. So it's pretty intriguing how that works.
Yeah, it really is. I get lucky genealogy-wise, and I know this is not a genealogy show, but I have to mention it because it's really cool. We're related to the Chase family, and who is related to everyone. All of the famous people, from Marilyn Monroe to Christopher Lloyd to Chevy Chase to Winston Churchill. It's kind of crazy. I'm cousins with all of those people. Go on my website and check out my bio. But there was a book written on the Chase family, and I just connected to one of them, and the rest was already done. So it was like, how lucky was this?
Right?
Every now and then you get lucky. It's the way it is.
Be related to Chevy Chase, that's pretty epic.
Yeah, I mean, I was just astonished at the people that I either had a cousin with or shared cousins with, or, presidents, first ladies, and, people that, even some people I don't care very much for, I'm related to them. It's kind of bizarre. It's really funny. It's like, oh, wow, I'm related to that guy, and I think he's an idiot. Sorry, It's really funny when you see who you're related to.
Right. Can't live with them, can't kill them, I guess you could, for like these other people. So we discussed your different books. So you started off with Elvis, and then FDR was the second, and then your third edition was the Elvis. Was it the 5th year anniversary of the writing of the book, or how exactly did that one come about? Did you just come across more information that you wanted to add to it?
The 5th anniversary edition of Who Murdered Elvis was basically everything that happened to me after I wrote it. All of the backstory, all of the threats, all of the nonsense that happened that was my story after the first one was published. And I actually thought about writing a 10-year anniversary because it's just, I mean, no one would believe the fallout, but I was surprised how many people inside his inner circle, and we'll have to cover this at a different time, but knew there was foul play involved. I ended up meeting most of the Memphis Mafia at one point in time. Most of them are gone now. Publicly, they wouldn't say it. Privately, they knew it. And I'm like, wow, why won't anybody say this? Vernon Presley hired Elvis's father. He hired 2 private detectives to find Elvis's murderer because it was the backstory. Elvis got between the mob and the FBI pretty hard. And that's not a good place to be, So, interesting book. So I had to do the 5th year anniversary edition to cover all the stuff that happened to me after I published the first one. So, and then, of course, after that came FDR, and then after that came Diana. I have one more book. I was going to do 2 more books. And I said, you know what, I think I've done enough. So I'll do one more book that I'm going to start in March, and it's Nikola Tesla. It's on Tesla.
That's awesome. He's like one of my biggest heroes, and I've heard you talk about Elvis and how you're his number 1 fan. I think we're gonna have to have an arm wrestling match or something over it because
they people are. It's interesting that now, all these years after, things are still leaking out. That's how tightly held things were with Elvis. Things are still leaking out that no one knew. No one had any idea some of this stuff. And, the Memphis Mafia, his inner circle, that's what they were called. They weren't the real mafia, but, nothing got out from Elvis. Nothing got into Elvis. They were the barrier, So because they held his secrets so tight, and now almost all of them are gone. I think all but one of them is gone now. Things are starting to leak out. And it's like, really? This really happened? It's like, yes, that really happened. It's kind of funny. Tough book to write. I didn't want to know Elvis was murdered. Bugged me for like 8 months. When I finally figured it out, I had to go to. I had to interview a couple of people who were at the autopsy, and mashed it up with what the toxicology reports were saying, and it's quite a book. It's quite a book. I've been doing this 12 years now. It's hard to believe. I mean, it's been a long run.
When I read in your book, like how many hours you put into just one book, I was just like, holy shnikes, that's a lot of time.
It really was. The Diana book was, I think, just under 4,000 hours. And you have to love it. It's not about money for me. I have to sell the book to break even, but I'll never be profitable. There's too much time in it. I could have taken that time and gone to work part-time at Arby's. You know what I mean? And probably made more money, but you have to be obsessed by it. You have to love it, and that's what I do. It's like, I always say this, Michelangelo didn't do the Sistine Chapel for the money. You have to be inspired to do it, and I'm just one of these people who I just love this stuff, So, interesting work. Anybody, back to the bio in the books, anybody who wants to check out my work, go to whomurderedbooks.com. That's my website. That's where the books are available. They're also on Amazon, but they're cheaper on my website. And, I'll even autograph them for you. I don't like these authors who just say, oh, go to Amazon. It's like pretty impersonal, I want to know who's reading my stuff, It's kind of funny. They're also on ebook and audiobook and Kindle and knock yourself out. And they're anywhere you want it. But if you want the autographed copies, you have to go to my website. So and you can check out this.
Oh, go ahead.
You can check out this ridiculous bio that I have with all these goofballs I'm related to. It's amazing. I'm sorry, I didn't cut you off. What were you saying?
No worries. I was going to ask, with your audiobook, How does that work? Like, did you do the audio for that, or did they hire someone to do the audio for the book?
I had somebody who did it. I did not do it. Um, I don't personally think I have the voice for it, and I also don't have the time for it. I would love to be able to do my own audiobooks, but oftentimes I'm face down, researching and writing, and I'm a big student of history, and I don't, it's funny, I don't fashion myself to be much of a conspiracy guy. I do run across them, and I know them when I see them, but I'm kind of a history detective, Long after these people, decades and decades after these people have died, and the case is closed and no one's looking anymore, I'm looking and I'm finding new things. And I can go in and I can solve things that the other people, have given up on decades and decades ago. So I'm not really a conspiracy guy, but I do find them, and they are real. Conspiracies happen.
Yeah, people a lot of times call them conspiracy theories, and they're proven true every single day. There's a different conspiracy that is proven to be fact. So I like to call them conspiracies, not conspiracy theories, because to me it's not a theory. Like, it's an actual thing that is happening.
Well, I came up with my own term. I get so tired of being called a conspiracy theorist. I love that. And that was introduced into the American vernacular after the JFK assassination by the federal government. If you didn't believe in the Warren Commission report, then you were a quote-unquote conspiracy theorist. So that's where they married those two words together. So I made up my own term. Want to hear it?
Yes.
Okay. Reality challenged. And that applies to people who, when the reality of a situation is staring them right in the face, and they are so challenged mentally that they can't accept it, they blame everything on a conspiracy. So I call those people reality challenged. They're unable to figure out what is really happening before them. So it must be a conspiracy theory, because this certainly can't be happening, even though the facts are in front of them. See, so that's the term that I created, reality challenged.
I think it fits perfectly.
I get so tired of it, I get, the greater majority of people just love my work, but I'll have a couple people out there who will call me everything but a white guy, and every now and then you run across it. Every couple years you run across somebody, and those people are reality challenged.
Well, I think you're pretty fly for a white guy.
Oh, I needed a good laugh today. I'm glad. I'm glad you were able to give me that one. That was.
Well, I love your books, and I love the way you write. It's just, for me, so easy to get into it and stay in it. And I spent 3 days spending time reading 3 of your books, and
Oh, you read them all. Oh, good for you.
I did. I don't know. I keep thinking, is there JFK one out there too? What are some other ones in your series?
JFK was going to be the next book.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why, and then I'll tell you why I'm not writing it. And everyone's going to groan when I say that. My cousin, James Snyder, was a presidential guard for 4 presidents. And Eisenhower was his favorite. He liked Ike a lot. He's a nice guy, I guess. And Jim died, last year. He was 90-something.
Oh, wow.
And throughout his life, he was from my town. And when he'd come back every couple of years, we'd have these elongated talks about working for President Kennedy and what he was like. And what makes him famous is the presidential guards kind of, they're a little police force of the White House. And they all work different posts. They rotate. Well, on this particular day, November 22nd, 1963, the day when President Kennedy was assassinated, and that is about the only thing that people can agree on, is that he was assassinated that day. Mm-hmm. My cousin Jim was in Washington, and he received the limousine that was shipped back from Dallas. And his job for almost 2 hours was to guard the limousine before the federal government, figured out what they were going to do with it and everything. And why that is so significant in history. He saw the bullet holes from the front, one through the windshield, one in the hood, and one in the front fender. And you can't have that by the Warren Commission report.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can't have if you have bullets coming from different directions. You've got two shooters. If you got two shooters, you've got a conspiracy. You can't have that. You have to have a single bullet thing, according to the.
Yeah, there's the whole Oswald effect out of the window.
Right, and he took his own pictures of it. He had a Polaroid somewhere, and he took pictures. And I do not have these pictures, but the pictures that he took do not align at all with with the pictures that were released from the government. So why I decided not to write that book, and all these JFK people do is argue.
Mm-hmm.
They're either on the conspiracy side, and all they do is it's their life's work. And they call each other names, and they get in the middle of I've been to these JFK conferences in Dallas every year, except for this year. And these people are calling each other names and getting in each other's face. And I'm thinking to myself, well, why do I need this in my life? So I talk about it, but that book will not happen. I don't need to be. I was friends with Mark Lane, who did Rush to Judgment, and he started the House Senate Committee on Assassination to reinvestigate it. And I saw what Mark went through. And I said, you know what? There ain't no way I'm going to put myself through this. I don't want to be cross-examined for the next 25 years on information. So I just said, you know what? There's going to be no JFK book. And I just recently decided that. So that is now removed from the website. And my next book will be on Nikola Tesla. And after that, I'm going fishing.
Yeah, that's a dirty, ugly rumor I heard. You're planning on retiring after this next one.
Yeah, it's been a good run, but I want to move into. I'll always write. I just won't write about the murdered thing. Then also, there's another reason why. People out there are stealing work.
Mm-hmm.
And you put thousands and thousands of hours into your work and all your research and your phone calls and your writing and this and that. And then you publish it and somebody scans it and they put it on Facebook for free.
Or in the paper, I believe I read or heard something where you had said, I think it was I read it, you had sent certain documents to this writer for a certain paper, and he's like, man, that's pretty controversial. I don't know if I could put that out. And then all of a sudden, they have all these different articles that are, like you're saying, like skimming off of your work. All that time and effort you put into it, and you're like, guess what? And they're taking your work and putting it into something else that you didn't even agree upon.
Yeah, and they had other people involved in it too. Dr. Cyril Wecht is a friend of mine, forensic pathologist, who's been practicing medicine probably longer than anybody in history. I mean, the guys. Oh, Dr. Wecht is awesome. He's 91, and he's been doing this for a long time. And they put something in a tabloid and put his name on it, and he didn't say it. So, I mean, I can't even break even anymore. Let alone forget making money. Med books never make money. So much time in them. And the Elvis thing was like 10 years.
Yeah.
And there's no way you can even be profitable. But now I can't even break even because people think it's cute to scan them and steal it. And I just, okay, so I'll move on. I'll go fishing. I'm good. I'm good with it.
You might break the record for the lake or river, whatever you're fishing in, hopefully.
Yeah, right. It's one of these things where everybody knows when it's time to move on. You have that inside of you, and I looked at the JFK information and I said, you know what? I'm not going to put my nose in this trough. I just can't do it. I can't be another person to be screamed at over this almost 60 years of arguing and screaming. I don't need this in my life.
Yeah.
So, and then I took a look at it, at the whole industry as a whole, and I just said, I'm tired of being pilfered, tired of having my work stolen and put out for free. And it's a shame because I think this is why a lot of people don't put the truth out, because it gets stolen and they can't break even. It's kind of sad, really. So Tesla is going to be my last book. I might write a book again someday. Maybe I'll call you and say, "Hey, Tesla, I got a book on this," but it'll be a while.
Well, I was super stoked when you reached out to me on Skype. You're like, hey, you want to do a show? I just, have the Diana book out. And I mean, that's the story that everybody in the whole world was following from the beginning when she
Yeah.
met Charles. What a prick. Poor girl. But yeah, it's so funny how that all started. I'd heard stories of how the Queen and her mother were actually friends, and that's how they met. But she was actually groomed to be royalty, correct? Like, her
For
family
sure.
is royal to
Sure.
some extent.
Did you think I lost your number, by the way? Because I was on your show 3 or 4 years ago. It's kind of funny. I think we did the Elvis show way back.
We did.
But Princess Diana. This is an interesting story. The background of this lady. She's was groomed to be royalty. Yeah, and if you go all the way back in her lineage, Prince Charles and Diana were cousins, so they married their cousins. I mean, was commonly done back in the day.
It's a royal thing, man.
I mean, hey, if I had a cousin like Diana, I probably would have gone after her too, but I don't. But I mean, the Roosevelts, FDR and his wife, they were cousins.
I know, that grossed me out so bad. I don't know why the Diana and Charles thing didn't gross me out as bad as the FDR thing. I think it's because FDR and his wife looked like cousins, and Charles and Diana really didn't.
Yeah, it's funny. If you go all the way back in their lineage to like 1327, Edward III was King of England and proclaimed himself to be King of France. So, because Diana's lineage goes back to the French part, and she married into the other part, she was really royalty in both countries. Really bizarre. I mean, I was really surprised when I read that. How the twists and turns. You can't make this up, folks. I mean, this is real life, So the big misconception about Diana is that she was a commoner, and she was not. She came into the media spotlight doing common jobs, and that's when she started to become the love interest or the consort of the future king. And but her pedigree was phenomenal. I mean, she's a Spencer. Her father was the 8th Earl of Spencer. I mean, these people were hundreds of years of careful breeding and posturing and preening their children to be royalty or to marry royalty. So there's a lot in the book that a lot of people don't know. And I got to be honest with you, I didn't know until I started digging. Prince Charles was dating Diana's sister, Sarah. And that was going along quite well until either she said something to someone in the media that was derogatory about him, or somebody made it up and attached her name to it. No one really knows which. But it got back to the Queen, and they put a stop to that pretty quick. So, here's Charles, 32 years old, and the royal family's pushing him to sire children, especially sons, to keep the royal family, the name going. And, by this time, Princess Diana, or Diana at that point, she is of age now. And she's a cute little girl. I mean, she's 19, 20, and she possesses all of the attributes that are prized by the superficial male. I guess that's the best way I can say that. And he catches her eye, and so they start, this courtship, and eventually, he asked her to marry him, and it was they met in November of 77, and they were engaged February 24th of 81, and they were married that July. And I mean, she's 20, he's 32, which is quite a few years apart. And he wasn't. She was head over heels with him. I think the fairy tale princess, the royalty, oh boy, he picked me. How lucky I am. I mean, I think that she was just so infatuated with him and the entire circumstances. I just think she was, I mean, if she could have squealed, she would have. She was just so elated, walking on air, the fairy tale princess wedding, right? Isn't this what every girl dreams of? So, but he wasn't, I don't think he shared her glee.
Mm-mm.
He was involved elsewhere.
Yes.
And
Still is, correct? Aren't they still together?
yeah, this is the one that he wanted. And we're speaking, of course, of Camilla Bowles,
Mm-hmm.
who she was married, and they were tiptoeing around since 1971 with each other. So poor Diana, I mean, she's walking into this situation. Diana was born in 1961. She was 10 when they were screwing around. I mean, that's how baked in the cake this romance was. So, he was involved with her. She was married to Andrew Bowles, who was a lieutenant in the British Cavalry, and he wanted to marry her. And the royal family has rules, very, very old rules, and they are to be applied to. And you have to be of royal breeding, which she really wasn't. You have to be a virgin, which obviously she wasn't because she had 2 sons. And you can't be divorced, which obviously she would have had to have been. So for all of these reasons, although the Queen did like her, these people are the separate society of English royalty. And it's a small country in comparison to the United States. I mean, it's not a small country. I wouldn't carpet it or anything. It's not that small. But there's only so much royalty to go around. And these people all know each other. So Diana, the Queen, had known the Spencers. That family had known each other for hundreds of years. So, and the same thing with Camilla Bowles. I mean, she was, she knew that upper echelon of people as well. So there's a lot of backstory to this. So he wanted to marry her, not to be. Queen wouldn't have it. So here comes Diana, who fits all of the criteria of that the Queen was looking for. She was a virgin, royal stock. She was bred well. She was well behaved, and she really fulfilled everything that the royal family liked, in a future queen. So the Queen actually, I believe, picked her. Of all the he was quite an eligible bachelor, and of all the girls that he was, dating or courting or whatever, the Queen picked her. So that's how this whole thing began. It's quite a story. And the wedding, unbelievable.
The
3,500
wedding. I
Oh
still
man,
see it in my head today.
it's 3,500 guests at St. Paul's Cathedral. I mean, she shows up and she's got this $18,000 white taffeta flowing gown, and it took like, a man and a boy to lift up the train. I mean, it was it was unbelievable. 750 million people saw that.
Yeah, and
And
there was thousands along the route, right? On the way to the ceremony.
yeah, this was a real thing. I mean, fireworks, I mean, it cost, in our money, of course, they're in a different monetary system. So in our money, it was $50 million in American money at that time. So I know their money's valued a little differently than ours, but they really went whole hog. And she was miserable. She was trying to call off the wedding. She suffered depression. She suffered from bulimia and insomnia, and they fought every day. So, it's amazing how people go and keep up appearances. Here's this beautiful young girl who this should be the happiest time of her life, and you know what? It's just not.
No, she's like, what the hell did I get myself into? She really wanted it to work, but he was just like so into Camilla. And he even heard phone calls between the two of them, and Camilla, I don't know, I don't like her at all. Just the way she'd sit there and rub Diana's nose in it and just make her worse as far as being sick and being depressed.
I don't really know. It seemed that way, didn't it? I mean, they were on their honeymoon, and Camilla had given Charles cufflinks with entwined letter C's, you know, and he wears these things on the honeymoon, and I just can't imagine why anybody would do that. And I mean, this is supposed to be, the honeymoon to beat all honeymoons, and here they are fighting like mad with each other over these. Diana spies these new cufflinks, and he's saying, they're a gift from a friend. Well, she knew they weren't. Diana wasn't stupid. Mm-mm. And man, it was on right there, and it never stopped. It never stopped. It was a bad situation to put that little girl in. I think she was very naive, and started out bad, and it ended up bad, and in the middle it got worse. So it was. I don't think, we all change with age. Mm-hmm. We all mature. We all think things differently. I don't think that Charles would be that guy today. I don't think that he would have allowed himself to be put in that situation if he'd do it today. I think he took one for the team. Mm-hmm. I think the Queen was after him. Look, we need to carry this on. You need to have sons. I think a lot of pressure was put on him to do what he had to do. So he was fulfilling his, what the legacy wanted and what the monarchy wanted. And his heart just really wasn't in it, So he did what he had to do, and then it was Splitsville. I'm surprised they were in the same room long enough.
Right.
To have the second
kids. Well, a kid.
To have poor Prince Harry. I mean, they absolutely hated each other by that time, I mean, Harry comes into the world, September 15th of 1984, and they were not on good terms at all. After William was born in 82, it wasn't so bad. They were making it work, putting up appearances, and they were okay with each other. They were far from head over heels, but by 84, it was and horrible things were said. They were said that Harry wasn't born, had a different father, and this and that, and
well,
I don't know.
He just like the guy, and I think at that point, okay, so after she has William, the love that she wanted or needed from Charles was replaced with her true love, her firstborn son. After that, she really, I think, didn't care anymore and started to work on her own, humanitarian efforts and such, and had the love of the boy, and started sneaking around too, because Charles has been doing it all this time. She's been trying to be a good wife and do whatever she can, and nothing she's doing is working. So why not sleep with the stable guy?
There's a lot of, like I say in the book, there's a lot of royal crotch swap going on here. It's it's really something, and I think that Diana she had a lot in her childhood that wasn't good. She had, of course, the royal families. They're after boys to keep on the name. And the year before she was born, they lost an infant son. And that devastated the family because they want the boys to carry on the name. So here she comes, and she's a girl. And it was thrown up in her face a couple of times that, we wanted a boy. We didn't want you.
I mean, she's not accepted her whole freaking life until later in years. I feel so bad.
I can't even imagine anybody saying that to a little kid. I mean, that's that's so bad. Their face should have fallen off. Why would you say that to a little kid? But they did. So at 8 or 9 years old, the parents divorce, and the father's a nice man, and he has financial means to really care for the kids. And those were good years for her. But the divorce was not. They were fighting. The kids were upstairs at night crying. I mean, she really suffered. So here she is now, fast forward. She has 2 kids of her own. And those formative years are, pretty important. And she's got this bad wiring in her head of her being unwanted from childhood. So she's trying to find someone to make her complete because of this tremendous yawning chasm that happened mentally in her. So there's a lot going on with her as well as Charles. We talked about Charles and his motivation, but Diana, I mean, she married him because she finally thought that she was made whole. Somebody wants me, and of course that was partially the case. So, yeah, you're right. After Harry was born, I mean, is there a different father? I don't know. It looks like it, but I can't speak for them. Those kids have been through an awful lot,
So sad, yeah.
I just kind of leave them alone. I thought about reaching out to try and interview Harry, and then I thought to myself, these kids have been through enough. I'm just going to leave them be. So after this, she goes on, she's trying to find Mr. Right. And she goes through a number of different relationships, and of course none of them worked out. Some were longer than others, and now the tabloids are involved. The tabloids over in England. Now they're and they're running tapes of her talking to guys and tapes of him and whatever he's doing, and now the country is starting to be split. Half side with Diana, the other half side with Charles, and this is a mess. And the Queen's furious because the royal family only have a handful of things that they do. The first thing you do, they have like 3 or 4 rules, or feel 3 or 4 duties. The first one is to have boys and keep it going. So 150 years from now, this will continue. That's what they're obsessed with. That
kind of doesn't make sense to me, though, because it is a monarchy. It has been forever. Why does it matter if you're a boy or a girl? Don't they want a woman in charge? She has been for quite some time, and Queen Elizabeth before her as well.
I don't have any idea what they're thinking.
So
and
weird.
I'd be lying if I said I did. I just don't. So the second thing that they do is they appear as dignitaries and ceremoniously. And the last thing they do, these aren't hard, fast rules, this is what I'm observing, is they act weird and stay away from people. They enjoy the fruits of the labor. They like the fruits of the vine. This is all ours. We're going to go ride our horsey and see ya.
Right.
They stay away from people. So, it's just such a crazy thing to fathom. How this monarchy is going on. So none of this, and I know people aren't going to like this, but it doesn't matter what kind of country you have. If you're in America, or if you have a representative republic like we have, or if you have you're a socialist country or a capitalist country, you want peace among your people, because quiet people who are complacent are easy to rule than people who are starting uprisings. It's a big pain for a government how to deal with an uprising. Well, this is what was happening in England. Half were siding with Diana, half were siding with Charles through the tabloids, and it was a big black mark on the royal family, and they were sick of it. They were tired of it, And Charles wasn't acting any better than she was.
I don't think he even wanted to be royal, really. All the things that he was sent off to do, he was basically forced. He didn't enjoy any of it. I don't think he wanted to do it.
I'm sure you're probably right. When you're born into a royal family and the expectations are so high that you have to do things by birth, it's got to be misery. Be misery for me, that much I can say. So here, the tabloids are split. They're splitting the people, and the Queen's had enough. She's had enough of the smudge that is being put on the royal family. And this Queen she's a pretty sharp lady. I mean, she's no dummy. She's been around. I mean, she's ruled that country through some good times and some real bad times. This is not a dumb lady. She finally said, I've had enough. And she brought both of them to a meeting, and she probably clunked their heads together like Moe in the Three Stooges movie.
Sound like 2 coconuts.
Yeah, and she finally just probably said, like, I've had it with this. You do your thing, and file for divorce. And of course, that's to my knowledge, that's never happened in any sort of a royal family before.
Now, I remember the Queen's sister. She was quite a mess because, I don't know, she's in her sister's shadow, and she actually gained more acceptance. She was more fun than the Queen. The Queen always had to be a fuddy-duddy or whatnot, and her sister was always very fun to be around, etc. But she was miserable too.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that there was a little underlying resentment from Diana was making the royals look bad, and I don't think she was doing it on purpose because I don't think she's that kind of person. They'd come off the plane, and of course you'd have rows of people on both sides of the tarmac, and they would just walk like robots, not look at anybody, and get in their limo, and that's it. And she's walking around saying hi to people and holding babies, and she just made them look terrible. But I just think that this was her way. I don't think that was. I don't think that she was just a very open person, very personable, and they were not. Yeah, and she made them look terrible. So. I don't think that after she became a divorcee, and here she is, heartbroken, and she went through a time of searching, soul searching. Oh my God, what happened to me? How do I rebuild this? What do I want to do with my life? And she went through a couple of years like this, and the royal family they really wanted her to get married and move on, because she was still sparring with Charles. They were trading little barbs here and there, and they stripped her of her status of Her Royal Highness. And there's a lot of very petty stuff going on, and they were overjoyed when she was getting on in a relationship with somebody else. They were so hoping that she would marry and move on, But I think that she was absolutely heartbroken, and I don't think that for a while she knew how to move on. But time and tears go by, and eventually she rebuilds herself into this kind of Mother Teresa model sort of figure, And I don't think I ever talked to anybody who didn't like her, or what she stood for, or what she did with her life. So here she comes, and now she's starting to appear with causes, and she wants the best for the world, and she appears very altruistically. There's a word for you. That doesn't get a lot of play.
Oh.
And I think that part of it was just trying to be herself and figure out, okay, what am I going to do with the rest of my life now? Because she's still a young woman. And I think at that point in time, I think there was a part of her that wanted to say, hey, look at me. Look what you missed. So, meanwhile, what's going on in the castle is still going on in the castle. They're doing their thing, and they're playing their polo or whatever they do. And Charles is still involved with Camilla. And I think that, well, I don't think it, I know it. I mean, it's a fact that those two, they traded barbs for a while after that. I mean, that Camilla actually told her, I read this somewhere and I can't remember where, so if it's somebody else's work, it is somebody else's work, and I can't give them the credit because you know what? I can't remember who it is, but she said, Camilla said, you got every other guy on the planet. Why can't I have this one?
Is the Queen said so?
She captured the hearts of everybody, and Camilla just couldn't understand why she couldn't let this go. And it was those two were definitely not. I don't think she was vice president of Diana's fan club. I'll put it to you that way. So here's the world watching this, and here's where the plot starts to thicken, and this is why she got rubbed out. And it's unfortunate that this had to play out the way it had to play out. But I want to ask you a question. All right, you finished the book. Did it come out the way you thought?
No. I thought for sure it was the Queen because, like you said, she's been doing this since she was a kid, going out there and making speeches and doing whatnot, being the Queen. I mean, this lady's probably gonna live to be 300 years old. Swear to God. No, I thought for sure it was the Queen. I totally did.
Yeah, I'll get into, I'll explain a little bit more, and I'll explain the suspects, and I'll explain why the royal family was the first people that I ruled out as suspects. And I know that's going to run contrary to what everyone's read, but the majority of the books in the tabloids that have been written from people in the UK
Mm-hmm.
who are looking at this through the lens of the royal family. And they have that confirmation bias. They have that bias. They're trying really hard to make this fit. I'm an American investigator. I live in, a small town in New York. I respect the royal family, but I mean, by and large, I'm not obsessed with them. I really don't care that much about them. They're just more people in the world to me. They're not the focus of my world. So I had a different opinion about this. So back to what she was doing. She's reinventing herself, and the first cause that she started getting involved in was the AIDS epidemic. And this was really something. I mean, she shocked the world because the common mores at the time in the medical field was, stay away from these people. You can't touch them. You'll get it, and this and that.
Yeah, because you're coming
so
out
here's
of
the farm.
lands. Give me a break.
Yeah, and we look back now because we know so much more about it today than we did then, and we can say, "Wow, that was really stupid of us to think that back then." And someday, and I don't know when, hopefully sometime soon, we'll do that with the COVID-19 thing.
Mm-hmm.
15, 20 years from now, they'll look back at this moment in time, and they say, "Oh, wow, everything that we thought then was, twisted or crazy or something." So the pharmaceutical industry is feverishly working on a vaccine or some type of medication that they can vend to countries around the world to combat this AIDS epidemic.
Super mega moneymaker.
Yeah, and pharmaceutical industries. I mean, the pharmaceutical companies make money. That's what they do,
Yeah.
and they make lots of money. So. A lot more than me, I can tell you that. So here she comes, and she's on her goodwill tour, going around the world, finding babies with AIDS, and she's holding them,
Mm-hmm.
and she's touching people with AIDS, and the pharmaceutical industry is flipping out.
They're like, stop it. Stop doing that.
Yeah. How are we supposed to sell this, the need for these drugs, these forthcoming drugs, if you're out there doing this?
Yeah, you're killing the fear. You're killing our company.
That's exactly right. And they were, and I'm not going to mention the names of the companies, but they were shocked, and they wasn't happy at all, not even one little bit. So that was the first thing that she got involved in, and she made her little world tour doing that. And she had a very interesting relationship with the media. She knew how to play them. She knew how to play the media like a fiddle. I mean, she just...
I remember she hated it at first. She was just like, oh my God, I can't handle all these cameras in my face all the time. But she learned how to deal with it and kind of manipulate them or whatnot in a certain sense.
She really did. She knew how to get them to bend to her will. And unfortunately, she couldn't turn it off. It was great if she wanted a cause or wanted press for something that was something that she really cared about. But boy, when she wanted to be alone or she wanted to go on vacation, she couldn't get away from it. It was a double-edged sword. And same thing happened, with this pharmaceutical industry. She wanted to. She went on her the AIDS tour, so to speak, and she was done with that, and she wanted to be left alone, and they just weren't having it. They just weren't having it. So.
Well, on that note, Stephen, we do have to go to our first break. So on this break, we have Miss Tracy Cruz, and she is from Oakland, California. She's going to be singing Joyful Rain. Then we have Miss McKaylin Hay from Ontario, Canada. with Mirror, Pins and Needles, and Devil You Know. You guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this music break.
Right through. You've cleansed my soul and washed away all the pain. You wash every part. Your love lifts higher than all of the stars in the sky. So high. I may not wish on you to be by my side. You loving me, I feel like flying. You loving me, I feel like crying. Tears of joy fall from the sky to me. Talking on pins and needles, every word through a microscope. You keep stomping down on the ground while I've been stuck on this tightrope. I just wanna say what I wanna say without your sentence. I'm not willing to do the time when I'm innocent, and I'm innocent. Talking on pins and needles. Talking on pins and needles. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. Walked on my share of thin ice with your blowtorch at my feet. You won't ever see me beg, so take this tongue off your leash. I'm gonna say what I wanna say, don't need permission. Interpret it how you want, it's my decision. Talking on pins and needles. Talking on pins and needles. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. Dancing on shattered glass, kicking the pieces all around. My safety has been broken, this is now a hunting ground. Talking on pins and needles. Talking on pins and needles. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna
Welcome back, and thank you so much for joining us this evening on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. This evening, we have author Stephen B Ubaney. Welcome back, and thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight.
Well, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to have somebody that condones my behavior. Because I think a little differently. You know, some people are afraid of heights. I'm afraid of wits. You know,
Right? Especially half-wits. They really scare me. They really do.
I mean, you have to be, in order to write a book like this, or this book series, you have to really ask a lot of questions. You know, I mean, I'm a perpetual question asker. You know, I wonder how deep the oceans would be if sponges didn't grow in it.
Right?
I mean, I wonder about these
They're
crazy
soaking
things.
up a lot of water, right?
Like, if you shoot a mime, do you have to use a silencer? You know?
I don't know. I heard a mime is a terrible thing to waste, but I wouldn't be offended.
Oh boy, where do we leave off?
We okay, so I'm still thinking of this mafia. We left off on she's rebuilding herself, the media, bending the media to her will and her aids humanitarian efforts and such. Pharmaceutical company, hating her guts at that point.
Yeah, so she's not making very many friends, but she's not on it for long. You know, she makes her rounds, she pushes her agenda, and she moves on. And there's a little bit of time in between where she's, you know, being the goodwill ambassador to the world, the Mother Teresa. And unfortunately, like I mentioned in the book, we don't know what to do with nice things. You know, it's like when you're a little kid and your parents come in and say, you know, this is why we can't have nice things.
Right? This is why.
We do this in the world. I mean, I mentioned this in the book. We just don't know what to do with things that are nice. I mean,
we have to destroy it. We don't understand it. Does not.
Yeah, I mean, look at this little firefly, just the brightest firefly in the night sky. We have to capture it in a jar, and that becomes its coffin.
Yeah.
You know, we just
I did
don't
that as
know.
a kid. I felt bad later on in years, but it was cool back in the day.
Yeah, we just don't know what to do with nice things. You know, find a nice looking butterfly, you got to touch its wings, and then it's over with. So we do this a lot. So back to Diana. I mean, wants to be the mother of all mankind and be the queen of people's hearts. And the next thing that she attaches herself to is she just hated the fact that long after warring countries are done warring, that there are these landmines that are never picked up, and they're just out there in the ground. And you know, I mean,
Little kids are getting blown up and stuff. It's sad shit.
You stumble upon them, and that would ruin your day, and lots of days.
Forever.
So yeah, so she attaches herself to this, which on the surface looks like a great cause, and she went on this called the ICBL, the International Campaign to Ban Landmines, and she was starting to do the world tour with all of this, and not making lots and lots of friends doing this.
No, they weren't happy.
They were, again, I mean, she went on from upsetting the pharmaceutical industry to offending the military-industrial complex and coming between them and their profits. And she was thinking with her heart instead of her head, because it seemed like a really nice thing to do. You know, it seemed, on the surface, it seemed to be innocent enough. But, you know, there are countries in this. She was upsetting the balance of power in the world. She was interfering with the global commerce and the global economy. And here's why. You know, there are countries in this world whose entire gross national product depends on the sale, either legally or illegally, of arms.
Mm-hmm.
And here she is with this landmine ban. And oh boy, that was not a good thing to do. And it was rumored behind that one, because
yeah, wasn't there like a certain meeting that happened, and towards the end of the meeting, different people gathered in different groups, and this particular group was sitting there drinking throughout the night and discussing different things. One of them being, we got to get rid of her.
For sure, absolutely. I was just coming to that, and that came to me kind of Well, I'll get to that in a second. That came to me in the strangest of circumstances. But it was rumored that behind this landmine ban was a small arms ban. And oh boy, is there a lot of money made from arms and the sale of arms. And I mean, she was upsetting the the economy of the globe doing this. So the second meeting was in Ottawa in '97, and she had almost 100 countries on board. They were signed up to this ban, and they were going to do it, and that was it. So she decides to go to, prior to the Ottawa meeting, she went to Angola to have this big media spectacle and be shown with children with their arms missing and whatnot, which was pretty gut-wrenching to watch. Yeah. And they weren't happy. There was a man named Alan McGregor who later came out in the tabloids over in the UK, in the Mirror and Daily Mail, and I think there's another one as his son, and said that he traveled with her and she was getting death threats, serious death threats. And when she went to Angola, they had to pay $100 million because they were going to kill her. 100 million pounds, so they're not in dollars. So they had to pay. They were gonna do some misdeeds here. So this was real stuff. We never knew anything like this. So it goes. That was July in '96, and here we go. It's gathering steam. Now she's got 97 in Ottawa. She's got 100 countries involved now. And when it first came out, people were like, oh, wow, isn't that a nice cause? And then it started to gather steam, in global steam, and then people started getting really nervous. It's like, oh, boy, this is just not a very good idea to be involved in.
Yeah, there's a lot of money being made in the death industry.
Well, yeah, there's no money in peace, unfortunately. It's like the pharmaceutical industry, I mean, there's no money in cures. There's money in treatment. They have
this problem, like cancer. Guarantee they have a cure for it. I'm not going to give that up.
Absolutely. And if we're not a nation of healthcare, we're a nation of sick care.
Yeah.
Because there's money in it. So again, it goes right back to Princess Diana thinking with her heart. So August 18th of '97, 13 days before her murder, and she was murdered. And how long is the show? I want to make sure I make time to talk about it.
We still have an hour and 40 minutes.
Oh, good. We'll have time to get into it at great length because I'm building up to that part right now. So 13 days before her murder, and yes, she was murdered, she went to Bosnia. And again, it was a great media spectacle, and she's trying to raise awareness to get people to sign this ban because, again, this is a bad thing. And she was right. It is a bad thing. So right about this time, shortly around this time, they have the Bilderberg Conference in Georgia. It happens every...
That's what it was. That's what I was trying to do, is remember the name of that meeting. I was like, I cannot remember the name of this meeting, but that's what it was. Thank you.
Yep, and it was the Bilderberg Conference. It happens every year, and this was the 45th conference. And the usually don't know what the Bilderberg Conference... I didn't know what it was.
Freaking
and I'll have to tell you... I have to tell you how I got this information after I tell you what it is. So, Bilderberg Conference, I had to figure out what this was. I did not know about it. They're basically 150 members of the European, Northern European, Atlantic countries, and they're political, financial, industrial, and the military elite. Basically, they run the world when no one's looking. It's public where they're meeting. Don't even try and get close. They have security the likes of which you've never seen. It's by appointment only. You get invited, and they make global agendas. Yeah. And they don't bother with your voting booth because guess what? Your vote doesn't matter.
No, no matter how you vote, they're going to do anyways.
Very much so. So I don't think we have elections. I think we have selections.
Right.
But that's another day and another cup of coffee. So, is in June 12th or 15th in 97. This is just about the time that she goes to Bosnia. She was actually just a little before, because she went to Bosnia in August 18th. So, outside of Georgia is this very exclusive place, and this is where they were meeting. And lots of dignitaries were there, and people from all around the world. Hillary Clinton was there. You know, the Clintons were
Hillary.
They're very important people, so they show up in lots of places. So, my person who sent me this information, who I don't know and can't give credit to, and I'll come back to that in a second, they overheard a meeting of a couple people at the Bilderberg conference, and they were all talking about their number one obstacle in the world, which is Princess Diana. She was, and you got to remember, this is these people are political, financial, industrial, and military. This is what they do, and they're not necessarily happy with what's going on. And it was overheard by the person who sent me this information. They were talking about taking her out, which is chilling, you know. So,
and actually, somebody got up from that table. They're like, "You're out of your mind. No in hell am I talking about this," and left.
Yeah, yep.
Everybody else stayed.
And you know, it's a bad thing to think about. But you know, we have to. 99% of the people, 99.9% of the people in this world are nice people, and we don't bother each other. You know, we have different beliefs. You see crazy things on the news where people harm each other, but for them, that's not really us. For the most part, we get along fine. We're tolerant of each other, and we leave each other alone. But again, I've said this on numerous shows, we can't be naive. We have to come to the realization that there are bad people in this world. And they don't care about they don't share our values. They don't care about how that we think and how we live our lives. They have their agenda, and they're paid to wield their clubs. And it's sad that these people have to do this, but this is what has to happen sometimes. So my book was written, and I told you that, and then I told you about the pony. Now I'll tell you about the stable, okay? I got this information. It's in the book. There are names involved. And how I got this information, my book was written. It was already done. And it was about 3 months late. And I really wanted to have it done a little earlier, but that's the way it is with projects, you know. So I was just getting ready to send it off to the publisher, and I made a comment on a social media platform, which I'll never do again, about...
You opened a can, didn't you?
Boy, what an idiot I was. And you really have to be. Sometimes, you know, boy, am I stunningly stupid. That was really a stupid thing. I made the very vanilla comment of saying my next book will be on the murder of Princess Diana. Well, this person gets a hold of me from a little village in France. I don't know who this person is. They're using some sort of a nom de plume screen name or whatever. And they send me a message, and they said, my mother just passed, and she's been investigating this for years. We're not going to do anything with these pictures and this information. Do you want it? And I'm thinking, oh, boy, do I really want to get involved in some lunatic 3/4 of the way around the world? So I said, yeah, sure, why not? Send it along. And I'm thinking, yeah, right, like this will matter. And I get it. Lots of pages. Almost 400 pages.
No return address.
No return address.
No name.
And I get it, and I'm looking through this, and I'm thinking, oh my God, this is unbelievable that somebody would take their time and do all this. So I go right back to message them again, and they're gone. The user's been removed. They took themselves off. It's like spooky. Who are these people, you know? So I get all of this information, and there are pictures that are in my book that I don't know if anybody else has. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. A bunch of information about her murder. And this, it was then that I realized that Princess Diana was using a body double.
I saw that. Pretty smart.
And, well, you know, I mean, yeah, I mean, when you're as popular as she was, and you're being threatened all over the place. It's pretty smart to use a body double.
Well, it's crazy. Even Elvis had one.
Yeah, a lot of people had them. Vladimir Putin has them. I mean, Saddam Hussein has them. A lot of people do.
That's insane.
So I had no idea she was using a body double, so they showed me the pictures, and they showed me what to look for. And they said that this woman's name is Sue, or Susan, and they said that she was employed to be Queen Elizabeth has a body double. Crazy. So
Wow.
some of the people that some of the pictures that were snapped by the paparazzi and vended to tabloids and so forth, there's a few pictures that weren't even her, and if you look close, it's obvious it's not her. But I don't know, we just didn't know what to look for. But she was much better looking than the girl who was supposed to be her in a couple of these pictures, and the pictures are in the book. So really interesting stuff. So I come back to the Bilderberg conference and all of this, and a couple days after, she goes to Bosnia. Just 13 days. This is 40-some days after the Bilderberg conference that she dies. This is 13 days now before her murder, and she goes to Bosnia. And it was a 3-day trip. And after Bosnia, President Clinton signs up and says, okay, you're right, we're going to sign this. He hadn't been on board previously. I don't know what changed. I don't think I'm at the pay grade to even tackle that question as to what changed.
Hillary wouldn't leave him alone.
Whatever changed.
All right, woman, I'll do it.
Whatever changed, he signed it. So now we're coming into Dodi Al-Fayed. And the list of suspects are starting to establish themselves. Dodi Al-Fayed is, again, British royalty. He's an Egyptian. His father's an Egyptian billionaire, and these are pretty influential people. Mohammed Al-Fayed is a self-made man who owned a lot of financial interests in England. So they, again, Dodi and Diana have known each other since the 80s. They go all the way back, and they reconnect at some event, polo match, I guess. And Mohammed Al-Fayed owned the Ritz Hotel in Paris, Harrods Department Store in London, the Fulham Football Club, and he knew Diana's family very well. After the father died, he used to check in on him. And he actually went on to employ one of her cousins. So, I mean, again, all of these people know each other. And it's really something else when you think about how small this little picture is and how now all of a sudden now it's starting to take shape, right? Mm-hmm. This little snow globe of characters is starting to form.
All these circles interconnecting.
It's really something. So Dodi, again, the son, and he had a few kids, but he was really fond of Dodi. Dodi was his right-hand man at the Ritz. And he's a global playboy, and he was a Hollywood film producer for lots of successful films, The Scarlet Letter, Chariots of Fire, Breaking Glass, and so on. So at the time, he is engaged to an American model named Kelly Fisher. And Dodi met her in July of 96, and he bought her a gigantic ring and a house, and they were on their way to wedded bliss, and then Diana happens. And Diana had just broken off with the guy that she really, really liked. His name was Hasnat Khan, and he was a Pakistani cardiologist. And they were on again, off again for a couple years, and she really, really wanted to marry him. I guess he was really good to her.
Yeah, I guess that was like her twin flame or whatever, but for some reason it wasn't working.
The problem was the media. She didn't mind it. He couldn't stand it. He said, I can't be this involved in this media. I'm a cardiologist. He said, I can't handle this. I can't be hounded. I can't have my family hounded. I'm not going to go through what you go through. Plus, you have to understand, he doesn't, he's not living behind a castle with guards and walls, and so it became very daunting, very scary for him and his family. And so push came to shove, and she either said, it's on or it's off. And I mean, it had to be off because he couldn't handle the media. So here now, all of a sudden, we have all of this cast of suspects are now starting to form. We have the all of them in my book. This is how I write. I write a little differently than most people.
I love it.
I'm glad you liked it. I keep it small. My books are short, around 200 pages. I know people are busy. They don't have time to, read a 2,000-page thing. I mean, come on. Get to the point.
Unless you're really invested in that topic, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, an Indian chief once said it takes few words to tell the truth, and I believe that. I get to the point. So here's this cast of characters. All of my books are done this way. I gather the suspects, and I run them through the criminal process, means and opportunity. Who had the axe to grind? Did they have the motive? Did they have the means? Did they have the opportunity? And in the end, I'll tell you what happened and how it happened. And it's interesting books to write because it doesn't. I let the evidence write the book. Mm-hmm. I stay out of it because if you get financially or emotionally invested, you're going to screw it up, And that was hard for me with Elvis.
Well, and that's what it takes to be a good investigator, which is kind of what you are in reality. You're an investigator who writes about what they've discovered.
Yeah, I guess you're right about that. So. Here's this list of suspects for Diana. Every book is different. Okay. The FDR book, it was huge. The royal family, the paparazzi, Kelly Fisher, of course. Kelly was the scorned, fiance of Dodie. Dodie dropped
the altar on her wedding day. Okay, so that freaked me out because I'm like, that's totally against his character. I could see him saying, it's over. Like, we're not going to do this, but here she is standing at the altar waiting for him. Could you imagine? I would be super pissed too if I was her.
Yeah, you really have to feel bad for her. I mean, because the girl did nothing wrong. She was just in the middle of this bizarre situation, and what an emotional roller coaster she must have been on. So, Kelly Fisher, Hasnat Khan. Hasnat Khan, again, the scorned boyfriend of Diana, the international arms brokers and the military-industrial complex, and lastly, the pharmaceutical industry. So all of these people had some sort of an axe to grind. Okay, so I run these people through this process.
It's a 3-step process, correct?
Motive, means, and opportunity. Yep, absolutely. So while all this is going on, after the Angola trip, and after she starts getting these threats, she starts getting warnings from people within the British government. Earl Howe was a British defense minister who warned her basically in writing. He was in the newspaper, and he said, Diana is ill-advised, and she's not being helpful or realistic. We don't need her as a loose cannon. So I think that people were trying to get through to her. The second one who did a little newspaper blurb about her was Peter Viggers, who was a member of Parliament, who was a politician. And he said that, and here's a quote, actually, Diana's efforts didn't add much to the sum of human knowledge. So that was kind of a backhanded.
Yeah, a bitch slap.
Yeah, that wasn't exactly the nicest thing you could have said.
Not cool. Not cool at all, dude.
And then the last thing that happened was she got called in Kensington Palace, and she had a friend who was there, and this phone call happens, and this is documented in the Pageant report, which is the investigation that happened afterwards. It's on page 109, and it says it's Nicholas Soames, and he's a Britain's armed forces minister, and he said, and here's a direct quote, he said, "Don't meddle in things you know nothing about, because accidents can happen." And that's chilling.
White as a sheet, like.
That's chilling. That's really chilling. And yeah, she did. She really she turned very pale. What I make of those, I make of something a little different. She had a dossier that she gave to her friend, and it was all of the people around the world who were involved in all of this landmine information and all of this in multiple countries, and she gave it to one of her friends to keep. And she said, if anything ever happens to me, MI6 is going to be MI5 or MI6, one of them is going to be the.
They were both mentioned in the book.
Is going to be the one who takes me out. I don't believe that. I don't think that she. I think she was just so naive. She didn't understand really what was going on. I think
that was an eye opener for her. I think after that she was afraid for her life.
Yeah, she. Well, she was getting threats before that, but from within the British establishment, now she's starting to get, really scared. And I don't think that she interpreted this right, because, look, if MI6 wants you dead, you're dead in an hour. Yeah. I mean, there are real life James Bonds in this world. I mean, they're in. I mean, MI5 and MI6, they're about the best in the business. You're not going to play games with those people. It's not happening. If they want you done, you're done. That's it.
Yeah, I feel like whoever was calling her, whatever, yes, your life is in danger, but they're trying to warn her to stop. They want her to stop because they don't want her to die.
It's spot on. I have a different take on this. These people were hearing things from other places. When we later found out that the French, the British, and the Americans were tapping Diana's phone. The American government had 1,200 transcribed pages of her phone calls. So there was a lot of people around the world. She's shaking things up.
And the palace is a really tight-knit thing. Like, how the hell do you get in there? There had to be a guy on the inside, some sort of mole or something.
So I think what happened is they were hearing things through intel, global intel, and they knew that basically she pissed off the wrong people. And if it didn't stop, they were going to take her out. So here they are. They're trying to warn her. You need to stop. And, of course, she didn't stop. If she would have stopped then, I think she'd be alive today. She didn't. She misread the cues that were coming. And, here we go now. Now we move into France. And she starts this thing with Dodie, this love affair tryst with Dodie, and it lasted exactly 4 weeks. Everybody thinks it was such a big thing, and
it's because it was in the tabloids so much, but it was a Fast and Furious sort of thing.
Sure was. Everybody's saying that well, she's pregnant with Diana's. Diana's pregnant with his child, and this and that and the other thing, which she may have been. I don't know. I think
she just had the little mom thing going on that happens after you have a couple kids.
I also think that she was staging it.
Well, that could have been her stand-in, because to me that didn't look like her.
There's a lot going on here. This book lays a lot of things out that you're not going to find in other books. And you know what? I'm going to give you this website again. Go get yourself some books. I'll even autograph it for it. And I ship next day, so I can probably get it to you for Christmas. Go to whomurderedbooks.com, and if you want an autographed copy, I'd be happy to get it out to you. So now we're fast forwarding into this Dodie relationship. Okay, they are. You're right. Great term, fast and furious. They're on the romantic track, and Kelly Fisher and Hasnat Khan are furious. Hasnat Khan he's just about the most heartsick man in the world right now, and I can't only.
Well, he made his own bed. Now he's gonna lay in it. Okay.
I think that she wanted him back.
Yeah, she did.
I think this was his wake-up call. And that doesn't always work, by the way.
No, it doesn't. It usually backfires.
Yeah, poor Kelly Fisher. I mean, she had a lawsuit going on.
And
about,
it kind of boosted her. She was really in the tabloids after that with, here's the ring, this is my wedding date, all this other stuff going on.
Yeah, I mean, God, you got to really feel sorry for these two. So here comes the relationship with Dodie, and they're the big couple, and here's all of this backstory. Now we're building up to the murder. I mean, she's got all of this baggage, not normal baggage,
royal baggage.
Yeah, we've got royal baggage. We've got the pharmaceutical industry, and the arms brokers pissed, and we got the royal family pissed, and here's all of this, And they realize whoever, and now she has a billionaire behind her. And that's whoever runs Diana runs the world. So this is really a scary thing. On top of the arms ban, on top of the anti-landmine ban, on top of all of this other thing, on top of Old Smoky, I mean, there's all of this whirlwind behind. And of course, we never knew any of this. This is where people like me come in.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for what you do.
Well, I won't be doing it much longer. So
I want to miss it. Yeah? You'll come back. You'll be back. Just look. You'll see.
So
You'll get tired of fishing. You'll come back to writing some really epic shit.
someday. So Diana, she had this ability. She could get presidents and prime ministers and dictators who hated each other just to bend to her will. I mean, you're not going to say no to her. So here we have all of these mix of characters. And then all of a sudden the rumors come out that she was pregnant, and the rumors came out that he was going to marry her and this and that. Okay, so I'll run down the night of the accident. First, I'll give the official fiction of what we were told. I'll give you that version.
I love fairy tales.
And I'll give that version, and then I'll come back and I'll tell you what really happened. Okay, so he wanted to marry Diana. So he had this wedding ring all set up, and she was pregnant with his baby, and they wanted to go to this restaurant where he was going to pop the question. But the paparazzi were there, and it was too busy. So they went back to his father's hotel, the Ritz, and they decided that it was too busy there. So they snuck out the back door. The driver was drunk, and they hit the 13th pillar in the tunnel, Faulty-Amma Tunnel.
Oh, 13.
And yeah, lucky 13. And that's what happened. And she was dead when they got her to the hospital. Okay. And the paparazzi caused it.
Yeah,
Okay, so,
it's all their fault.
yeah, it's really hard to get through that without my nose growing.
I can hear it. It's like,
Wow, man. I mean, you really have to have 100 pounds of brain damage to really to believe this. That should be taken out of the library, wherever it is, put right next to Grimm's fairy tales,
Mhm.
Okay, so this is what really happened. When do we have a break coming up? I don't want to start.
Here in about, let's say, 15 minutes.
Okay, we got time to get into this. Okay, so part of that was true, but only a little bit of it. They wanted to they were on Dodie's boat, and Diana just loved Paris. She loved it. So I don't know if there was a ring. I don't know if she was pregnant. I don't care. I think that those are things that were just thrown out there to cloud the pasture. Okay, so he wanted to take her to Chesbonnet, which is a very posh restaurant in Paris. So about 9:45 that night, they start out with their team of people to their security team. Now, the Alfieds are important people. They're wealthy people.
Mhm.
So they have their own security team. And big, long black limos. And they're all, blacked out windows. And you have no idea. The reason why they black windows out, they're not trying to be cute. If there's an assassination attempt, you don't know where they are.
Right.
There's a reason for this. Okay. So in typical motorcade fashion, a car goes in front, the dignitaries are somewhere in the middle, and then there's a car in back, or multiple cars in front and multiple cars in back. And it tends to work, unless, of course, you're in Dallas in a convertible.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what they do. There were 3 cars, and they're going to Chesbonnet, right? This is where their boss wants to have some alone time with Diana. So they get to they start along the route, and they have people who go ahead and clear things to make sure that everything's okay. And I've seen this firsthand. 2 years ago, I was in Sanibel in Florida, and I was in a restaurant with my buddies, and these people come in, and they scope the place out, and they leave. And I thought, well, that's a little strange, I think, what are they going to do, bomb the place? Nope, not even close. 10 minutes later, Mike Pence and his wife show up.
Nice.
So I've seen this happen firsthand. I thought, wow, here I am, on Joe Nobody, and I'm eating dinner 10 feet away from Mike Pence. Imagine that. Crazy stuff. So I've seen this happen. They have people who go ahead and clear everything. Well, in this situation, they went ahead and they saw some things they didn't like. Now, Doty's security team, the Alpha Ed security team, and the security team at the Ritz are different. One follows Doty and the Alpha Ed family. The other one is just basically protects the Ritz. They're both under the same payroll of Muhammad Alpha Ed. Okay. They all know the paparazzi well, real well. This is not the only dignitaries that they take pictures of and they vend for for money to the tabloids. So the security team would give them tips. So and so is going to be here. They sell the pictures, and then they give the security team a little money on the backside. Okay, so they all know each other really, really well. So they go to Chesbonnet and they're starting to realize, hey, wait a minute, these people aren't paparazzi. Who are these people? And this is July. I mean, it's hot in Paris. These people are in winter attire.
Beanies. Canadians would call them toques.
Really bizarre, the winter jackets, and they said, wait a minute, something just doesn't look right, so we're not going to go here. We're going to abort this. We're going to go back to the Ritz. Okay, well, they're all disappointed. They go back to the Ritz, and they go upstairs to the Imperial Suite, where they have been 100 times. And that's it. They figure this is where they're going to stay for the night. So they tell the driver, Toodaloo, he gets off duty for a short time, and the unthinkable happens. Now the people at the Ritz, the security team at the Ritz, who the driver, Henri Paul, is headed them. And he's the one who was driving, and he just basically said, see you later. I'm going to go do something else. Now all of a sudden, the people who are posing the threat to Diana, now she's already been getting death threats. Mm-hmm. So now all of a sudden, these people are in the lobby of the Ritz, and they're freaking out. Security's going crazy. They've got them on the pictures of them in my book on closed circuit TV. Who are these people? What are they doing here? They could blow this building up. What is going on? Who are these people? We've got to get the princess out of here. So this is why when her butler, Paul Burrell, said years and years later, what was she doing out at such a late hour? That's why, because she wasn't safe in that building. So these are little links to the chain that no one knows about. All right. So.
Well, yeah, generally she's in bed at that time, but his plan had been set askew due to all this weird stuff that happened that night.
Yeah, it's really a strange situation. So the driver, Henri Paul, he's an ear. He's an informant because lots of people, lots of dignitaries and celebrities and other important people stay at the Ritz. So he is paid by multiple security agencies around the world, from the CIA to MI6 to whoever. He's paid handsomely for information. So he gets a call and says, you've got to get her out of there, and quick. We don't know what's going to happen. You're going to have to sneak her out. And they devise this plan, and they tell him, take her out the back door. They'll be waiting at the front door by the limos, waiting for them to come out. Sneak her out the back door in a different car. We've got a route all secured for you. So.
Yeah, and did they send out the body double or whatever in another car? Or they just took the car out?
No, there was no body double involved at this time. Okay. The body double was still in the boat. So she's appearing on the boat, but it's not working because they already know that she's in Paris. Because all of these people are leaking information back. All right, so we have the Alpha Ed security team who knows where she is. We have the Ritz security team who knows where she is, which is leaking information back to, the CIA and MI6, and they have the drop on where she is all the time. So it's not working. The paparazzi's being tipped off. I mean, when I say there was intel coming in from all kinds of different places, you'd have to read the book to fully understand it. So here comes the word: get her out. She's in trouble. So they sneak. Henri Paul gets Dodie, gets the princess, and another security fellow. And he goes out the front door and says, well, we're coming out in about 10 minutes. Stay put. Meanwhile, he gets a car. He gets a bellboy to get the car out of the motor pool. Last car in the motor pool. Pulls her up. Everybody gets in, and they start off down this quote-unquote secured route, which is anything but a secured route. So they get, 50 feet down the road. Of course, they don't have feet there, and they're in their metric system. But and they start to realize, oh boy, we've been set up. So on this route, there are 2 tunnels, and witnesses at the first tunnel are telling the investigators what they saw. And there's their names here, but I'm not going to. You have to read the book to get the names and hear the testimony. It's all printed out there.
Yeah.
And they go through the first tunnel, and this is what they claim they saw. Motorcycles, big motorcycles, around the car, everybody dressed in black, and they're trying to assassinate the princess. They're trying to get a shot at her. And this driver is swerving and going crazy, trying to save not only her life, but probably theirs, because this car doesn't have tinted windows.
Oh, no.
So now they can see her. Now they can see the target. When you have tinted windows, you can't. That's why
I didn't know about the windows not being tinted. You would just think that would be an automatic thing. No, not this vehicle.
Right. This vehicle's a little special. We'll get into here in a second.
Yeah.
So
I'm not going to spill the beans.
we come into, excuse me, let me grab some agua here. Okay, so come into the Riverside Expressway, which is the first tunnel. All of these witnesses are giving this load of testimony as to what they see. And the driver's trying to outrun the motorcycles, and of course that's not going to work. Like, the power to weight ratio is always on the motorcycle. A car is never going to outrun a motorcycle on a flat road. It's not going to happen. So he's got his hands full, and he's trying to keep these people alive. So he's moving. So they go through the route, and here we come into the second tunnel, and now the motorcycles are in front of the car. And they have these little lights now, these little tactical flashlights. And one of their selling
flashes really, really quick, and it can cause seizures or.
Yeah, I mean, when you flash these things, they're tiny little things. Well, they've had these things in they're tactical flashlights, and they have little strobes, and you can disorient someone or an attacker, and that's actually the selling point of these things. And they've had these things for years. They're just now hitting the consumer market. Well, that's what these people have. They can't get a shot off at her because they can't get a clear shot. So, and I've been told that there were bullet holes in it. Somebody else told me that. I didn't know that. That wasn't in my book. Why? Because I discovered that afterwards from a witness. So now the motorcycles are in front of the car, and they're slowing the car down, and they're flashing these lights in this driver's face. This guy must have been going crazy, So here's this guy trying to keep the princess alive. He's under attack. He's being menaced. And there's this little white car on the entrance to the tunnel. Everybody's talked about this.
Driving weirdly.
Yeah, everybody's talked about this little white Fiat Uno. And there have been books have written on it. They say they found the driver. 2 different drivers come up. There's been a lot of good books written on this as to who exactly the driver was. And I don't care if Bigfoot drove it. It's immaterial. The fact of it is it was driven. It was part of the plot. Yes. Okay. So, again, they add these little teeny things into the mix to throw your attention off, And it ruins a lot of people's filtering process when they throw something like that, like the pristine bullet on the stretcher in the JFK assassination.
It makes no sense.
It's like, where did that come from?
Or whatever, it's going to have some sort of impact on it.
No, it was just
freaking bullet.
It was just it was just planted there to spin everybody's mind out of control. I mean, they're good at this, and when I say they, people who are paid to do that, professional assassins, they know their stuff. I mean, they're good at their craft. So here's this white Fiat Uno just meandering around, driving strangely. And this is not me saying this. There are multiple witnesses to this crash who saw this, and they can't figure out what this car's problem is. Well, the car was placed there to perform a pit maneuver. And a pit maneuver is something that's been done in NASCAR for years. When they want to spin a car out, they just touch the back panel and they just give it a nudge and it spins out. And the police are now doing this.
Yes.
And it's a pit maneuver, and it stands for Precision Immobilization Technique. Don't ask me why they said they did that, but they did. Hey, they all call it something.
I had to say some fancy schmancy.
Yeah, right. So it was planned perfectly. They must have been in communication with this car because it was planned perfectly. So this is what happened to that car. It was just in the right place, just enough to nudge the vehicle to cause it to swerve and spin out and hit the 13th pillar. So now...
Okay, so before we go any further, I think we should go to our second music break. So he's about to spin out, hit the 13th pillar. That's where we'll come back in. Sound good?
Yep. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned, folks, because, yeah, you want to hear this. It's insane. My mind has been blown repeatedly. So on this break, we have Miss Tracy Cruz from Oakland, California, and she's going to be singing Flowers and Candy, Emotional Love, and Electricity. You guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this musical break.
When I met you, my life changed. Your love rained all over me. It was blissful, so special, essential. Life poetry, true beauty. We created, we made it. Reality, pure affection with expression. Our connection was meant to be. You make me feel so good inside, like therapy for my mind. You make me feel so good inside. It was like flowers and candy, understanding how you're standing really must be love. I'm talking true, I'm talking real, and I felt it in my heart. It was like flowers and candy, understanding how you're standing really must be love. I'm talking true, I'm talking real, and I felt it in my heart and soul. You make me feel so good inside. You make me feel so good inside.
Now what is this that's happening? I don't even know you anymore. Oh, yeah, changes moving through everything. Yeah, and I don't even know what we're fighting for.
Our bright days turn to sleepless nights. Our loving ways have turned to endless fights, and we can't seem to compromise. We try so hard to make things right. Yesterday, we'll erase all time. Can't we turn back? Hands on time. You changes are moving through everything. Changes. I will accept you for who you are, all your flaws and your scars. Because I love you too much to let you go. You help me grow. I will accept you for who you are, all your flaws. Because I love you too much to let you go. You help me grow. I will accept you for who you are, all your flaws and your scars. Because I love you too much to let you go. Boy, I don't know what to do. My heart is so confused. In the past, it's been put down, it's been shattered, and then I'm left without any clue to know the real truth about what I found. But with you, I found my common ground. Your love makes me emotional, 'cause you're the one that makes me feel emotional. You make me feel that love is real. 'Cause you're the one that makes me feel emotional. Ever
Welcome back, and thank you so much for joining us this evening on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. Tonight we are joined by author Stephen B Ubaney. Welcome back, and thank you so much for joining us and educating us on what exactly happened.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. This is it's an interesting thing. I learned a lot, and I reveal what I've learned, but I've run across things that just blow my mind. Before I can blow your mind, I blow my mind. It's like, oh my God, these things really happened. So, returning to the story, we're at the 13th pillar, and the accident's happening. So, this car gets crumpled up like an accordion. 2 people die on impact. The princess is in the back seat, and there's a phony photograph out there of her dead in the car. And
Yeah, I think you showed that in the book, and then you showed her
yeah,
actually in the car, alive.
yeah, and there's a lot of disinformation out there. Like Nikola Tesla's last photograph that they have circulating out there, that is not Nikola Tesla.
You have to send that to me.
The disinformation is out there, and I got to be honest with you, Google's not giving you the truth anymore.
Oh no.
You're better off looking for a search engine, and they're out there, something like Dogpile, who searches all of the search engines, because you'll find one of them to give you the truth, but Google's not giving you the truth anymore on a lot of things. On some things they are, and some things they are not. So here we go. The crash happens. The passenger, the guy in the passenger seat gets his face torn off, his name's Trevor Reese Jones, and this guy's a real hero. He was in the right place doing the right thing. He was guarding them. He was doing his job, and boy, did this guy suffer a horrible fate for it. So Princess is Dodie's dead on impact. The driver's dead on impact, and the princess is in the back seat, and she got bounced around pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
The picture I have in my book, there are not very many pictures out there of the real pictures of what happened. She's sitting upright and she's wincing in pain. And of course, dead bodies don't wince in pain. So obviously she's alive, and she's talking to people through the windows of the car.
Dodie for a while till she realizes he's no longer there.
She's completely shaken up. Oh my God, what's happened?
Yeah.
Dodie, where's Dodie? And of course, Dodie's long gone. And one of the first
driver went first, and then he died right after.
One of the first people on the scene was an American attorney named Stanley Culbreth. He lives in Ohio, and I tried to interview him, and I couldn't find him.
Weird.
Yeah, well, I'm sure he's out there, but it's
Especially being an attorney, you think his name would be out there.
Yeah, I tried to contact him, and I couldn't find him. I found an old address for him, just like Alan McGregor keeps coming up again. I tried everything to interview this man. I hired private investigators to find him. I couldn't find him. It's really, really strange. So they're trying to help Diana. Stanley Culbreth, he has an article out there that somebody got a hold of him for an interview, but I couldn't. He's trying to open the door to help the princess, and he's being prevented. There is some policeman on the scene who is in the other tunnel or something, and he won't let this man help her. And it's really sad. So now it's a Marx Brothers movie. Okay, ambulances come. They don't know what they're doing. They're taking more time with the dead bodies than they are the most famous woman in the world, who is royalty in both England and France.
Most people.
Yeah, she's royalty in France and England, and they're like, okay, well, it's Miller time. Well, let's just let her sit there for, an hour and a half. So they finally get her into the ambulance. And they take her to, and there's a story behind this. They say that the ambulances in France are more well equipped, and I don't know. They may be. I don't know.
Not this time.
So all I know is that Ronald Reagan suffered the same injury and survived it. And I'd like to think that Princess Diana was younger and in much better condition than Reagan when this happened. She should have survived this.
She had more drive. She lasted so much longer than I would have expected.
So it's almost 2 hours by the time they get her, the equivalent to 4 miles to the house. They don't have miles over there, but the equivalent thereabouts, which for me is incredible when people are running the 2-minute mile. You know, that we have multiple ambulances on the scene and they can't get her to a hospital in
I
a
could
reasonable
that time on foot. Not
It's
bragging,
insane.
but seriously, give me a break.
She and I say this in the book, you know, there are pizza delivery people who guarantee a 30-minute delivery. She'd have been better off ordering a pizza and riding back with the driver. She'd still be alive. It's insane. So, you know, all of this is going on. So she arrives on the scene, basically done her on arrival. By the time they get her there, she's almost bled out internally. So what do? Do they put up crime scene tape? No, of course not. They call in special equipment to a flatbed to haul the car away, and they call in special equipment to sanitize the tunnel, and they reopen it.
Yeah, that should have been closed down for at least 3 days, at least.
Yeah, I mean, they make crime scene tape for a reason. You get one shot. You get one shot at a crime scene, and once it's altered or changed, it's over with.
Mm-hmm.
This is absolutely beyond tolerance that this happened like this. So what do? The police arrive. Well, first of all, lots of people are furious. Mercedes-Benz is furious. This car was crash tested.
Mm-hmm. They have safety measures they've gone through to make sure this is the epic vehicle to drive. Oh,
Mercedes-Benzes, they're one of the finest automobile makers in the world. And this car was crash tested at a speed lower than what killed these people. This should not have happened, and Mercedes-Benz knew it. They offered to inspect the car for defects, and they were turned down at every turn. 3 times they were turned down. Insane. This is beyond tolerance. This should not be happening. The only people who inspected that vehicle were paid not to find anything. So Mercedes-Benz is furious. Everybody's furious. And, of course, the police show up, and by the time they show up, the paparazzi are there now. The people who caused the accident, they're gone. Different directions, they're gone.
Yeah,
all right?
They were gone a long time ago.
So the paparazzi's now showing up. They're 5-10 minutes behind. Now they're starting to take pictures, and now the police are showing up. So they put 2 and 2 together and come up with 147.50, and they take the paparazzi. And they hold them for 30 hours. And they take their cameras, and they take their film, and they strip search them and cavity search them, and they question them. And after 30 hours, they realize, we have no case here. We have to let these people go.
And supposedly they burned the pictures? Really? Like, that could have held evidence as well. Why are you destroying evidence? Because you're paid.
Yeah. There's a lot of fingers in this pie. So now they have to have a new boogeyman. Well, we can't blame the paparazzi, even though that's what we told the media.
No, they were late for once.
Yeah. So now the story's changing, and what do they decide to do? Well, golly, Bob Howdy, let's blame the dead guy. Just like the Kennedy assassination. Mm-hmm. Blame the dead guy.
It's all his fault.
You know, dead guys tell no tales, and they also don't sue people for defamation. So they concoct this ridiculous story that Henri Paul was quote unquote drunk as a pig, which is what they put out in the tabloids, which is fascinating to me because I've never seen a pig drunk in my life. But
I know a pig is like a big French word that they use as an insult, but drunk as a pig. How's a pig drunk? Yeah, I've never seen that either.
It's incredible. So then 24 hours afterwards, things change. We have a fall guy, the dead guy, who they claim was drunk, but they say that he was drunk, and they put that out in the court of public opinion before the toxicology report on his blood sample was even back. Just like the case of Elvis Presley, they're saying, you know, they're holding a press conference on the death of Elvis, saying this, that, and the other thing before the toxicology report is even back.
He died of an overdose of codeine. Guess what? He was allergic to it.
It's just insane. So 24 hours afterwards, a lot of crazy things happen. Now they have this narrative that Henri Paul, the dead guy, they're going to blame. They're going back to his apartment. and they're searching feverishly for any sort of evidence of booze that they can attach to this guy. And you know what? They're not finding it. They find a lot of Pepsi Light. Remember Pepsi Light? I do.
Never drink the stuff, but yeah, I've seen it.
That's going back a few. I don't think they make it anymore.
No.
So they find, a little bit of alcohol, half a bottle of something.
A normal amount of wine or champagne or whatever.
So they interview the guy's best friend, and he says, look, he wasn't a heavy drinker, and they get his bar bill that night, and he had 2 liqueurs about 2 hours before the crash. He was hanging out with Trevor Reese Jones, who was the guy who got his face torn off in the crash. If they'd have known that anything was wrong, do you think he would have let him drive? Of course, this is a feat.
He would have said, let me drive.
So they have all of this going on, and then they produce a video of Henri Paul walking around, checking his watch, tying his shoes, looking around, waiting for everybody. Yeah, this is not the actions of a guy who they claim was this intoxicated.
If you
So they
bend over to tie your
fabricate.
shoes and you're drunk, you're going to fall on your face. There's no teetering, tottering, or nothing.
I mean, they've fabricated all of this. So after this, they search his apartment again, and guess what? They find enough booze to stock Mardi Gras for 24 hours.
Right? Tons of cases. Oh, you didn't find this in the first search?
It's easy to find when you plant it there.
Right?
It's amazing
look
how
what I found. Isn't this amazing?
So after they do all this, now 2 identical break-ins happen in London. One at 3 a.m. at the royal photographer's house, people who cover the royal family. And the only thing that was stolen were the cameras and the computer software and the hard drives that could be used to sell photographs. One happened at 3 o'clock. A separate one happened at, and it was another photo laboratory that was burglarized. Nothing was taken, no valuables, nothing. Just cameras, camera bags, hard drives, and computer software. So this is pretty interesting, pretty strange. If this was just a crash, right?
Another strange thing is the cameras on the tunnel that are always working, except for then.
Yeah, the cameras on the tunnel just happen to be working. So let's play a little game. Let's play a little game called. We forgot to talk about the car. The car. I have to move quickly through this because we're running out of time, and I want to make sure I get to this.
Very special car.
Yeah, the pageant report, which is the report that they did way later, said that the car was in perfect working order. What a fairy tale this was! I mean,
I just have fun. I'm sorry. Perfect
this
working
car
order.
was stolen on April 20th of that year, and everything was stripped out of it: the electronic brain, the relays, the engine, everything was stolen out of this. And, the speedometer, the power windows, the anti-lock braking system, everything was gone. They rebuilt this thing from a shell. And they put the most famous woman in the world in this
Hunk of junk.
this Frankenstein mobile.
Yeah.
So no wonder it fell apart on impact. But this didn't come out because, and this is not being investigated, this is not coming out. Could you imagine the wrongful death suit? Could you imagine the legal liability involved?
Well, the company was pissed off because Britain took it away, and that's why I was like, there goes the queen again. Not only did she steal the body, they stole the car.
It's amazing. I think that the British and the French both knew she was knocked off, and they went into damage control mode. And, certainly a lot happened here. So the car was definitely not what it should have been, which is why it was a snap together model, and this thing just flew apart. So no wonder it killed these poor people. But of course, no one was supposed to know that. Of course, decades and decades and decades later, people like me come along and they make all of this happen. So here we go. All right. The French do their dossier and all of this information, and they come up with an accidental death. And the body comes back to England. The French turn over their information to the British, and the British say they're going to do an inquest into it. Okay, going to do the inquest. How much time do we have?
We have 34 minutes.
Alrighty. So they do this thing called the Paget Report. The Paget Report is very, very similar to the Warren Commission report, and I'll get to that in a second. They obviously use the Warren Commission report as a pattern for this document. And it's 832-page report done by the British Metropolitan Police. Hell of an inquiry. All kinds of money was spent. And the reason why they went through this so thoroughly was because Muhammad al-Fayed was furious.
Oh, yeah, just like Vernon. He did his own investigation, paid tons of money.
$13 million.
Jeez, oh,
and he came up with all kinds of information. And there's a movie out there that he actually had done, but he couldn't put it out at the box office for some legal reason. And it's called Unlawful Killing. It's out there.
I gotta write it down.
Yeah, it's out there on YouTube. You got to hunt for it. But it is out there. And it's a great flick. It really is. So the reason why it was entitled this is because when they reinvestigated the Paget report, they determined that Princess Diana and Dodi were both killed in an unlawful killing, which is their version of manslaughter. So we come back to the Paget report. The Britain Coroners Act of 1988 states, quote, "The inquest shall be held as soon as practicable." Well, they were killed 1997 at the end of July. End of August, And I don't know what their definition of as soon as practicable is, but I'm willing to bet it's more than 10 years, 1 month, and 3 days. They waited as long as possible to put this off. As long as possible. They really didn't want to poke the bear.
No,
they were
poke the bear.
Really worried about what was going to happen here. So this whole mess is going on. So the Paget report comes out with the determination that Dodi and Diana were killed in quote-unquote an unlawful killing, but the real reason they did it was to buttress what Muhammad al-Fayed had spent his investigation and what he did. They wanted to, they take apart his findings because people in England were pissed. This was substantial.
They've covered up so much messed up stuff. We can't even go into it. We don't got time for that. But yeah. Yeah,
you're going to have to get the book to hear the whole story. I'm trying to gloss over as much as I can. But the real reasons you're going to want to buy this book, what really stands out about my work that's different is you're going to want to see the body double of Diana. You're going to want to see the assassins outside an hotel. That's pretty interesting. Henri Paul's name is misspelled on his blood sample. There's a picture of it. So the investigation was so slipshod. Not only did they come out and say he was drunk before they even medically could have been proven, his name is misspelled on the blood sample. Insane. You're going to want to read about the Bilderberg meeting and who was in it and how it happened. And you're going to want to see the real photo of Diana after the crash.
And you're going to want to know who did it. We're not going to tell you. But
yeah.
You're going to want to know.
Yeah. I don't want to spoil the investigation.
You're going to be surprised. I was like, what? Makes
yeah.
sense, but I thought it was the Queen. For sure. Thought it was.
Yeah. It's really something when you take a look at it. I could tell everybody who did it and why, but I want them to know the history behind it. So,
yeah, and you did such a good job. And like I said, for me, the Elvis book, totally enthralled. Like I said, that was my first crush, even though he was a dead guy. But the book that I got through the quickest was Diana's book. I mean, I was just totally enthralled, and page after page after page was like flip, 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 reading through it. FDR for me, I'm sorry to say, was the hardest. But I did read them all. I'm like, man, I've always been inspired by him because he did go through some battles and turmoil, and he showed himself as something other than he was as far as his disability. But Diana book, swear to God, you guys need to buy this. You need to buy them all.
And I'll tell you what, somebody on your Christmas list is going to want to buy these books because they're cross-genre. The genres are, I mean, it's conspiracy and history and suspense and, all kinds of things going on here. So I think it's worth writing. The reason why my books are, and I got to give away a secret, the reason why my books are such page turners is because the books are written backwards.
Oh.
Nobody does
Wow.
this. Nobody can figure out how, like 50 pages, I can't put this down because the books are written backwards.
Wow.
So, and that's just a little Eddie Van Halen secret in there.
Very nice.
Who's thanked in there? Did you see that in the beginning?
Yeah.
Yeah, Eddie Van Halen's thanked in there. I did not know him, but I was interviewed by somebody who interviewed him, and I was told he was a big fan of him, of the books.
That's
So
awesome.
Yeah. So I don't, this is just what I was told, so I thought it'd be really cool to put that in there. But back to the story at hand. Let's play a little game called It Just So Happens. Okay? It just so happens that 3 people in the British Defense Ministry warned her off. It just so happens the letter she wrote saying that she would be murdered would be hidden until after the hearings. And I have to put an asterisk next to this, the letter, the famous letter. Ignored evidence. Diana's letter. Right? Yeah, Diana wrote a letter, and she gave it to her attorney, Lord Michigan, who into Britain's high policeman, Lord Condon. Condon hid it for 3 years, and then when he retired, he gave it to the next guy in line named Lord Stevens, who concealed it for 3 more years. Okay, so we have at least 6 years here that this letter is being concealed. All right? So here we have 3 legally bound professionals concealing this for at least 6 years, all of which at the same time that this investigation is going on. So in any court, in any country, this is a criminal conspiracy. You have 2 people joined together to perform an act which is illegal. You have a conspiracy. And that is the very definition of conspiracy.
Yeah, you're going against everything you've been taught.
Here we
Why
go.
Are you hiding this?
Yeah, people don't hide things unless there's something to hide. It tends not to work, So when they redact things about the JFK assassination, and when they release it and it's redacted, why hide things if there's nothing to hide? Doesn't make much sense to me. I was looking at I was going to write a book on the Lincoln assassination. And I was poking around the governmental libraries, and the information on his assassination is still redacted. Why? I mean, how long ago this was?
I know.
And these governmental libraries, and oh boy, there's a term I'm trying to think of, and it's late here on the East Coast, and you know what? I'm just not going to come to mind. Help me out with this. It's a place where the government keeps all their material. National Archives.
That's right.
Go. Just yell it right out when you know.
Microfiche.
Right. That's not the keeper of all knowledge, great and small. They just put that out there because that's all they want you to see. And I'm not a huge hater of this government or any government, but that's the truth. There's no reason to redact things if there's nothing to hide. So that's something to think about. So here's Diana's letter being withheld. So let's go back to my.
To see it? Do you know what it said?
Yeah, it's online. I actually think it's in the book. I think it might be in the book.
Yeah, I couldn't read it. It's funny. About 3 months ago, small print is oblivious to me. No matter how I try to stare at it, my close-up vision has gone awry. Even though my far-fetched vision has always been messed up, now the small print and the things close up to my face that I'm trying to read, I can't. I will have a fainting attack or something. I don't know. It's really weird.
It's magnifying glass time for you, my dear.
Yeah, I know. I'm getting old. Holy shnikes.
So let's go back to the game, okay? It just so happens that there were suspicious people at Chesbonnet and the Ritz.
Mm-hmm.
It just so happens that the escape car was incorrectly put together.
Yeah.
It was basically a snap-together model. It just so happens that witnesses saw the car surrounded by people on motorcycles with guns. It just so happened that the white Fiat Uno did the pit maneuver. It just so happens that witnesses who tried to help the princess were prevented. It just so happens that it took her 2 hours to get her to a hospital. This is fun. It's a fun game. Let's play. It just so happened that the media ran with the drunk driver story before the toxicology report came back. It just so happened that film of the crash was stolen from 2 different locations the night after she died.
Mm-hmm.
Just so happened that witness testimony was lost by the French government, even though some people gave it to 2 governments. Jack and Robin Firestone were American tourists who were in the tunnel when it happened. I actually spoke to Jack Firestone. Super nice guy. He's got his own book out. Their evidence was given to both governments, and it was ignored both times, which is mind-boggling. What a great guy Jack Firestone is. If you ever chance read his book, I like it very much. So let me see. Where are we here? It just so happens that it just so happens that the witnesses were threatened.
I know.
I don't know
and that's my favorite question that you ask. Have you ever been threatened?
Have you ever been threatened for witnessing a car accident?
No.
If it's just a car accident, why threaten anybody? And all of these people involved in this, these witnesses were terrorized. It adds up. So
I know. That's why I'm surprised that Firestone did write that book, but I think he did so he wouldn't feel like the victim anymore. He had to be unvictimized. He had to state his case because he's refusing to be a victim, and he's going to say what he saw. He doesn't give a fuck what happens.
Was a great guy. What a great guy. I was so happy that I was introduced. I was introduced to him by somebody who interviewed me and interviewed him, and he said, you guys really need to talk. And then the fellow who connected us passed away, which is really sad. But Jack's a great guy. So back to the just so happens, there were 84 lies that were uncovered by John Morgan, who's a great researcher of Diana, way better than I am.
What?
Oh yeah. 84 lies found in the pageant report upon further investigation. The automaker wasn't allowed to inspect a car for defects. It just so happens that no effort was made by the British government to hunt down or find those responsible for these quote-unquote unlawful killings. This is an interesting list of it just so happens as, and we go right back to the pageant report and the Warren Commission report and the parallels between them. And I could go on for hours on this, but I'll just skim the surface here. Well, first of all, I'll get into the planet evidence. Elvis, Diana, Sonny Liston, another one that was murdered that no one likes to talk about, but I'm not going to write that book. You can write that book.
Okay.
JFK and Marilyn Monroe. Okay. All of them had planet evidence, sanitized death scene, and oddities. And here we go. Well, I'll go right down the list. Okay. Elvis, at his death scene, had planted drug syringes with no needle in them. And there wasn't no mark on Elvis's body. I know the guy who was at Elvis's autopsy, and he still had the magnifying glass. You look at every inch of Elvis's body, not one needle mark, nothing. It's insane. It was planted there just to make the investigators go crazy. Princess Diana's pregnancy photo, same thing. Sonny Liston had drug syringes and drugs all around, and he had needle marks in his arms, but guess what? There was no drugs in his body. Kind of interesting for a guy who's allegedly OD'd. JFK, you have the pristine bullet that shows up. More planted crap to spin the minds of the investigators go crazy when we see stuff like this. Marilyn Monroe. Oh, yeah. Marilyn Monroe, they staged a break-in, but the glass was on the wrong side of the building.
Yeah, you trying to break out? Is there a fire? What's going on?
Makes no sense.
Mm-mm.
So you go right back to the sanitized death scenes. JFK's obvious. He gets his brains blown out. They take his body into Parkland. You got Secret Service with two sponges, a bucket of water, and they're cleaning the blood splatter out of the limousine.
Even Elvis's bathroom. Housekeeping goes in there, cleans it up. Oh, but
Elvis
Consuelo doesn't know. Yeah, she does. She knew she needed to clean up because they told her to.
Elvis's yeah, Elvis's death scene. The EMTs came back to pick up what was remaining there of their bags and their resuscitation equipment. And by the time they came back, everything was sanitized. There was signs of a struggle, gone. The bed was made, the floor was cleaned up. Now that was under police lockdown. The house was under police lockdown.
I know, and that's what freaks me out. I'm like, okay, so yes, they took the body. Yes, there was a big frenzy about that. Then they came back later to investigate. Everything's cleaned up.
So
Weren't police
did the
observing
police?
like what was going on? Like, what the crack happened there?
Well, did the police do it? Nobody seems to know. Nobody gave the authority to, or the word to say go ahead and do this, but it was done. Same thing with Diana. The death scene was sanitized. The tunnel was sanitized by the equipment they called in. Sonny Liston, again, his wife changed everything, or someone did. They decided to clean up before the authorities were called. But one of my distant cousins, Marilyn Monroe, true story.
Gorgeous.
Look at my bio.
No
This one
machine.
takes the cake for me. Okay. Not only is her death scene faked and sanitized, when the investigators show up, the housekeeper's doing the laundry from the death scene. I mean, you have to be a special sort of idiot to do. Why do they make crime scene tapes? You know, I mean, it's just
They
absolutely
were told to
amazing.
do it.
Oddities, medical oddities. Elvis Presley gets down to Baptist Memorial Hospital. The first thing they do is pump his stomach and wash the stomach contents down the
Yep.
drain.
Bye evidence.
Diana, slow ambulance, undescribably slow.
And they stopped several times, and I don't know, I feel really bad for her, not only because of the accident, but I think along the way I don't know, I just keep picking up on she was being tortured, poked, prodded. There was things happening to her that were not medically sound. This goes against the Hippocratic Oath, etc. She was being tortured and prodded and getting information and trying to get her to stop. But yeah, they made it stop.
It was brutal. I mean, I can't even imagine
It's
how she must have
disgusting.
suffered. Sonny Liston, there were no drugs in this guy's body, but there were track marks in his arms. Kind of interesting.
Imagine that.
But the ultimate, I think the creme de la creme of all of these is JFK's brain is missing.
Right?
And it's been missing for decades. Now, why is that important? It would have shown the trajectory of bullets. It would have shown how many bullets. Well,
Which
let's
direction, yeah.
let's steal the limousine away so no one can see it. Let's fake the X-rays, and let's take the brain and make it disappear. I mean, it's unreal. So here we go back to Marilyn Monroe. Liver mortis is a stupid name.
Mhm.
Liver mortis. It happens when the water pump in your body stops pumping, which is your heart, and blood settles at the lowest level of your body.
Yep.
Okay. And it causes, after a time,
Clotting.
a purplish hue on your face.
Yeah.
If you die face down, your entire face will have this. Marilyn Monroe, when the investigators were called, she had liver mortis on the cheek that was up, not the cheek that was down on the pillow.
Makes no sense.
Had to have been repositioned. Had to have been. It's a medical fact. They say follow the science. Well, they can start any time. Okay, so I had to tell you that. I call them in the book threads of insanity,
Yes.
because all of these deaths have these things in common. And I just brushed the surface of it, but you're going to want to know more about it. The Warren Commission and the Pageant Report. Like I said, I'm just gonna brush the surface. How much time do we have left? I don't want to run you over.
We have 14 minutes.
Okay. So, Pageant Report and the Warren Commission, both were not the usual drivers. William Greer was not the usual driver for JFK. Henri Paul was not the usual driver for the Alfie Eds. Just so happened that they were different. Coincidence, sure. John Morgan, great investigator, now beyond us. He has passed on. He debunked 84 lies in the Pageant Report. Mark Lane, my friend, who's also passed on, debunked 106 lies in the Warren Commission report.
That's amazing.
Henri Paul was working for MI6 and other agencies.
So
and
is
that's
the MI5 and MI6 because MI5 progressed and became MI6, or are these two different groups?
They're two separate groups.
Okay.
One deals with what's inside the government, and one deals with what's outside the government.
You know, that's what made me the most nervous about reading the book. I'm like, is that M15 and M16 because I'm a Marine, or is that MI? I'll have to ask him.
It's MI. And they're just about the best in the business. I mean, these people are they're good. They are. America's a very young country in comparison to some of these countries in Europe, and they have had a huge start on us with a lot of things. And we all cooperate, around the world. But America has spies too.
Yeah.
We all spy on each other. I mean, we do have real life 007s. I know we don't talk about American spies very often, but we have them. So both Henri Paul and Lee Harvey Oswald were both working for Intel. Oswald was working for the FBI and the CIA. Don't send me hate mail. The evidence is in the book.
Yeah, these poor guys, they were doing what they thought was their patriotic duty, and they were thrown under the motherfucking bus.
Sure, absolutely, sure. There's one documented in there that was labeled classified or secret or whatever. I can't remember at the moment because it is almost midnight here on the East Coast.
I know,
And
it's brain fart time.
yeah, and it says right there that he is known as an informant for our agency. Buy the book, the information's in there, right along with Lee Harvey Oswald's Department of Defense card, which came to me through many people that I know. Discredited in the court of public opinion. Henri Paul was discredited as being drunk. Lee Harvey Oswald was discredited as being a lone nut. Neither one of them had a trial. Both were murdered in their car. The public, neither one of them believed.
Yeah, I didn't even remember the Oswald murder, but I was reading something or heard something that you had said about Oswald and that he was murdered, and I remember him being captured, etc., etc. But as far as being murdered, I don't remember that part. So when people say that, I'm kind of blown away. Like, what exactly happened? So he got shot on the way to the jail, or what happened?
Yep. Jack Ruby, short for Jack Rubenstein, was a club owner in Dallas, and we'll just say he was very mob friendly to the people in Dallas.
Right.
And he's a guy who knew how to work both sides of the law with equal skill.
Guy.
And he, on the way to transport Oswald, he stepped forward and capped him right in the chest or in the stomach. So, and of course, there's another conspiracy theory, which I'm not going to get involved in because you know what? I don't care.
I know. We're going to have more after this. We're going to have a whole thing of conspiracy theories.
Yeah, there are people out there who say that it wasn't Jack Ruby who shot him. There's no video footage. There's only the guy from behind. Did they hang it on him? I don't know, and I don't care. It's getting crazy with this JFK. I mean, they can spin off.
Even the driver with his left hand, because he was left-handed, reached over his right shoulder and shot Kennedy in the fucking face. What?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, there's all kinds of these things. I mean,
there was multiple shooters.
And they said that, well, if there's multiple bullet holes, they have to come from somewhere.
Right.
So, yeah, that story, I think that cracked me right up. I think that put the cherry on the parfait for me.
Yeah.
I stopped and laughed for 20 minutes when I saw that. So here we have this driver. You ever shoot a 45?
Yeah, I have PTSD, so shooting guns freaks me out. I used to love it. Depends, like 357 lever action. That's my favorite. But I have a 38 special. But yeah, I've shot them.
A 45 has a kick. It's like a mule kick.
Right. It's bad. I don't want to do it. It scares me.
You're not going to shoot this thing nonchalantly over your shoulder.
Yeah, if you do that, your hand's going to kick. Somebody's going to see the action. Does not make sense. Does not compute.
No, and most of the Warren Commission, through CGI technology now, most of the things that are out there have all been altered. I actually saw one that makes it look like the shot came from the back, and it didn't.
No, you saw him fly backwards. You saw her
Yeah,
go
I have,
over the trunk of the car to grab the piece of his head and put it back in place.
I
Fucking
have the,
freaky. Man, I
yeah,
feel so bad for her. And on so
yeah,
many levels. And that's not the worst one, but yeah, on so many levels.
yeah. Talk about somebody being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
She was a good wife. I just have to say that.
Yeah, she must have had terrible, terrible nightmares after that. But it's just insane. So neither had a trial, Henri Paul or Lee Harvey Oswald. Both were the military-industrial complex were involved in both, in the spying of both, for Diana because of the weapons ban, and JFK because of Vietnam. I mean, I think there were 3 people left in the government that JFK didn't piss off. He pissed everybody
I
off.
thought it was, I think the final straw was when he started communicating with Russians about UFOs. And he's like, these aren't ours, those aren't yours, these are something else. This is otherworldly. So when you get these reports, let me know. When I get these reports, I'll let you know. Everybody's like, you're not supposed to be communicating with these guys. Not the main thing, because Camelot, could you imagine how America would be if we were in Camelot? Like, had he made Camelot not just his homestead, but our country? Oh my gosh.
Well, I think that Kennedy was young and he was enthusiastic, and I think that people liked the fact that the lights were on in the White House again. And
well, yeah, and all the Kennedys were doing a good job, except for that one drunk uncle or whatever the fuck he was. He really fucked everything up. Otherwise, they were good guys, and
Uncle
nobody
Teddy.
has that accent anymore.
It's really unbelievable. International bankers were involved in both, actually. I can say that without giving the book away.
And I think that started with FDR too, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. International bankers, I mean, Diana was fiddling with what they did. International bankers, they would fund one side of the conflict, and then they would lend the other side credit. And it wouldn't matter to them who won, or they didn't care.
Two-faced bitches.
They did that all through World War One. And the Warren Commission report, Kennedy had signed executive order to stop the Federal Reserve notes and have silver certificates published by the Treasury Department.
Oh no!
So both of these people came across on the wrong side of the international bankers. And finally, or anyone anymore with this.
Oh, you've been not boring whatsoever, but continue.
The House Select Committee on Assassination finally ruled that there was a second shooter in the JFK assassination. Your government said it, not me. Don't send me hate mail, because you know what? 2 words, don't care. They said it, not me, okay? They're the ones that said it. I'm just telling you that they said it. Go look it up.
Don't kill the messenger, okay?
Yeah, I mean, they said that there was a second shooter who missed, but
There's actually 3 or 4, but yeah, 3, I think.
But there was no effort made to bring them to justice or investigate who they were. London's Royal Court of Justice reinvestigated the French dossier and concluded that there was indeed an unlawful killing, or their version of manslaughter, with Dodi and Princess Diana. However, again, no effort was made to bring the people to justice or find out who they were. So, a lot going on here. Lots and lots of moving parts. When I look into things, I really look into things. And it's an off-putting book, and I'm sorry. I wish I could make it
I thoroughly
sunshine
enjoyed
and
it.
rainbows. But
yeah, sunshine and rainbows. Unicorn farts,
yeah,
the special things.
It's really something. How deep this went.
I was blown away.
And I will say this. The royal family had everything to lose and nothing to gain by killing Princess Diana or trifling with her. They just want to ride their little ponies, enjoy the fruits of the vine, and go off into the distance.
Yes,
they don't
want. I have to be a real woman and apologize. Queen Elizabeth, I'm sorry. I thought it was you, but it wasn't. It wasn't. Curtsy.
She's quite a lady, but
man.
They were the first people that I ruled out because I can't imagine they would have been in power with it or without it, but they didn't need the They didn't need the stain on their or the shadow attached to them.
Yeah,
would've-
they're tired of drama. I think Queen Elizabeth's sister caused enough, and Diana came, and she's like, I can't handle this shit anymore. Now Harry and William are marrying women that aren't even royalty, but we are at the end of our time, so would you let our listeners know where to find your books, audiobooks, etc., and how to get their own personalized autograph copy? I have 3 now. The first one I asked you for an autograph, and you're like, okay, and then it came, and I was like, where's my fucking autograph? And then next 3, yeah, I got my autographs. I'm happy.
You can get autographed copies, and I'll try and get them there for Christmas. Or they're sure it's up to me. I'll mail them the next day, but they may not get there because of the post office. See how busy they are.
Mm-hmm.
Go to whomurderedbooks.com. Whomurderedbooks.com. I can get you physical autograph copies for anyone on your Christmas list. Just tell me who to autograph it, so I'll be happy to do that. My books are available on ebook and audiobook all the way around the world. So if a physical book is not your cup of tea, no problem. You can buy one of those or on Kindle, and they are on Amazon. So if you are outside of the U.S. and want a physical book and I can't get them to you. If you live in Sweden, not at a good cost anyway, you can get it on Amazon. So that's how they can get my books. My next project will be on Nikola Tesla.
I'm so excited. I can't wait. When are you going to get this done? When can I read it?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's December 19th, 2021, and I will be writing out other interviews until probably February, and in March I'm going to dive into it, and I want to have it out for the next Christmas season.
I am super stoked. And we will talk
I might make it
after the show to book our next show, but holy shnikes, I'm super stoked.
Reach out to me. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Facebook, and I like to know who reads my material. I like to hear from you. Because without people like you guys, there's no way there could be people like me. So I have 1 book left in me, and then I'm going fishing, folks. That's it.
That's right. I hope you catch a really good one that we shared today. Thank you so much once again, Steve, for being on the show tonight. I had a really good time hanging out with you and learning from you, and thank you so much for what you've done. It's not a conspiracy theory, it's a fucking conspiracy. I can't remember the words you gave to it, but yeah, it's true. Thank you so much for what you did, and I think a lot of us are appreciative of it. Not just
well, I try and do the best I can, so thanks very much for a great interview, and thanks to everybody who's out there, and hope to see you again soon.
And thank you to all of our friends on We Are Paradox Media's KPNL Radio, Facebook, Twitter, iHeartRadio, and wherever else beyond the Omniverse you are listening tonight. Thank you so much for being here. I had a wonderful time this evening with Steve. He is so awesome. I really enjoyed this show better than the last one I listened to of him. I felt so bad for him on that one. I was like, oh my gosh. Give this guy the respect he deserves. But next weekend we're going to have the We Are Paradox Media Christmas Party, and we have story time with me, TessaTNT. Yep, that's right. You get to listen to me reading a book about celebrities. You guys don't forget, we are all in this together. Together, we can make the world a little better. And together, my friends, we are Paradox Media, because without you, there is no us. Next nighty night, love and light, and have a wonderful rest of your weekend and week. And I will see you back here